The Freeman Adventures live podcast this evening, starring, of course, Mauricio Lopez, who is not here, and I haven't heard from him. So I'm hoping Mauricio, number one, is okay. He's en route coming here to the studio. But if not, hey, you're stuck with me, and I got a lot of stuff to discuss with you all tonight. I've been talking to Pongeros down in Ensenada, and I have got some great news for all of you because that southern flow of fish just keeps moving up. Arnie Mann, he's one of my favorite guys down there. I've got a lot of favorites down south of the border, which I'll be talking about to you all here in just a moment. But man, oh man, there is some great stuff starting to happen. And I have to mention our good friend Jason, Chef Jason, who does all our cooking videos. He just delivered here 6 big canisters of soup for our friend Eddie Leland. Captain Eddie Leland, as you well know, is battling cancer right now. He's going to prevail. He's working hard at it. I'm over there harassing him on a regular basis. Had him out surf fishing for a few hours this morning, but that's the kind of guy Jason is from Schulbs. Going out, making sure that Eddie has some soup, and then delivering it over here so I can get it over to Eddie in the morning. So really, really stoked about that also. Sean Morgan is moving up the Baja Peninsula. I have an update on that. He's coming from Cabo San Lucas, and you're not going to believe what he ran into on the way up. We've got albacore. Yeah, we've got some news on albacore. In fact, Western Outdoor News, I'm a little perplexed by it. I'm trying to figure it out, to be honest with you. But I see that they're saying the first albacore of the season was caught. And I thought I saw that today, but there's been albacore on the West Coast for several weeks now. So I haven't had time to read that. Maybe one of our great Freeman Adventure family members will be able to tune me up on that. I see Jeff Yeomans from the 540 Slingers Club. Jeff, tell me you're not impressed. Tell me that you are not impressed that I actually plugged in the microphone from the beginning of today's show. I didn't wait till we were 3 minutes in like I did last week with Jolene Thompson. I apologize for that. But I actually got it plugged in, and I know Jeff will be super, super excited about that. By the way, I leave my studio door open, so you might hear stuff going on out there. The reason I have it open is because we kind of have an open door policy, especially when a guest doesn't show up, that anybody who comes in here to 22nd Street Landing in beautiful San Pedro, California, could just walk in and give us a fishing update. So who knows? Maybe Sean from the Pride will walk in here. Maybe it'll be somebody from the Amigo coming in here. Mark Paisano Jr. Could be anybody. Brian from the Monte Carlo is always a lot of fun. Tino Valentine. Who knows? So the door is open. If you hear some background stuff, that's just the way it goes. So once again, folks, I do want to mention to you all about our sponsors. I got to tell you about Opsin Fluorocarbon, www.opsinusa.com. Put in FA at checkout, and you will get a handwritten note from our friend Greg Brown, as well as a free gift. Daiwa, right here. Man, when you want to get tackled up, you want to take on the big fish, you don't want to leave anything to chance, you have to go with Daiwa. Great sponsors, so proud to have them on board with us. Blacktail Hooks are on board with us. Really affordable priced hooks and a lot of fun to fish with, and they get the job done. 22nd Street Landing here in beautiful San Pedro, California. They've got a great fleet of boats, great customer service. It's an honor to have our podcast studio here. The Malahini down there out of H&M Landing in beautiful San Diego. We were just on board the Malahini. We got a goose egg on that trip, and I'll talk to you about it. You can ask questions. We didn't catch anything on that trip, but we certainly had a heck of a show. Some of it you'll see behind me. There was bluefin, and they were big. We hung about 6 of those fish, lost them all, didn't find a kelp all day long. We scoured. Those guys, Bill and his crew, burned their eyes out with the binocs, and we never came across a kelp. You know, that happens every once in a while. Richard says, how we doing? Richard, we're doing fantastic. Savannah Lopez, he's almost there, I promise. That's his wife. Savannah, you're number one. You're putting me at ease now. Appreciate that very, very much. Tony Gonzalez says, good evening. Let's talk finances. It was a pleasure meeting you, Philip. Let's get some shirts printed up for you after the OC Fair. Yeah, it was my pleasure, man, to meet you. And I am at the OC Fair. I'm bartending at a place called Baja Blues. And behind me, you might see a couple photos with me, with some of the girls I work with at Baja Blues. I've met so many people there. If you're going to the OC Fair, I'm working evenings, every evening, and come into Baja Blues, look me up. You can look Soledad up, you can look Evangelina up. They're all fantastic, and I know you're going to love it. It's fun working the fair. I enjoy it every single year. I did it just for the heck of it like 5 years ago. Then I went off to China, as you know, for 3 years, and I'm back. And we're not making millions of dollars yet on the Freedman Adventures podcast, so it helps in terms of some income, and it really is a lot of fun. Meet so many nice people out there. Back to some sponsors. Island Fishing Tackle in the beautiful city of Carson, California. Sam De La Torre, he's done so many great tackle tips here. He helped me out on our youth trip the other day. It was fantastic. And of course, that youth trip was on board the Clemente. So we're going to talk to Mauricio about that and so much more. And his wife swears to me, Savannah says, he'll be here at any moment. Big Fish Bait and Tackle in the beautiful city of Seal Beach, California. Man, they have all the surf fishing stuff you need. It's known as a bait store, but it's much more than that. You can get all your tuna gear, marlin gear, anything you need at Big Fish Bait and Tackle. Ventura Sport Fishing. Nobody like Tucker McCombs, but I could say that also about Cody Rogers running the Island Spirit, catching all those barracuda out there. And my friend Steve Virtue, who runs the California, the old Matt Walsh, half day out of there. He's also doing fantastic. Fish Taco Chronicle magazines right here. This sign is going to continue to fall down this whole show. I can see that already. Fish Taco Chronicle magazines. And of course, the morning briefing, where I bring you the very latest in fishing every single morning. How can I say thank you? Thousands every morning are tuning into the morning briefing, and I deeply appreciate it. And you can look forward to more programming in the very near future. We are definitely going to do that. Travis Bright, I got to meet him on the Malahini trip. I'm looking forward to seeing him again. Just gave us $20. Travis, forget the 20. You are really a prince of a guy. Really, really appreciate that very, very much. It is so deeply appreciated. It's so deeply appreciated that so many of you have subscribed and continue to follow us. And our programming is just going to get better and better and better. We're going to cover freshwater, have a briefing on that. As soon as we get to the fall, we'll start doing that. And of course, we're going to add more content. We're actually thinking again about going back to Aventuras al Aire Libre. So that would be a Spanish language show similar to this, but in Espanol. So we have a lot planned for you. All right, we're waiting for Mauricio. Savannah says he's coming. I believe her. So I get a chance to catch up on some interesting fishing stuff. While I look up here and I see Albert Ponce. Hello, brother, and everyone. Albert was just down. Here we go. Perfect segue, Albert. Albert was just down in Ensenada. He fished with an outfit called Blackfin. Him and his wife, Crystal. They had 3 fish. The big one was 100 pounds, talking bluefin tuna. They had one that was 60, if I remember correctly, and one in about the 40-pound class. Really great fishing. And Albert raved about blackfin charters, said they are top-notch. So that is as good as it gets. That recommendation from Albert means a lot to me. Now, speaking of guys that I know down there, Pongueros, I was in a long conversation in Espanol right before I came on the air with Arnie Mann, A-R-N-I-E-M-A-N on Facebook. Send him a message if you'd like to book with him. He's got a nice little panga. He said that the kelps finally are loaded up. Not that they haven't been loaded up, but the stuff's starting to bite more and more and more. They had a marlin the other day. You'll see that flash up there in just a little bit. A lot of Dorado on the kelps. While they are not biting that well, we are certainly seeing quite a bit of it on the kelps right now. And also yellowfin tuna. So that's looking good also. Mike, you want to come in here for a second and put that mic on? Just don't bump that until our guest arrives.
Our guest is here.
Oh, our guest is here? Well,
go say hi.
And then you're going to take over?
I'll take over.
Oh, my show is going to go up in smoke.
We're going up in smoke here. Good evening, folks. Who's watching? Let's say hi.
You got 45 people watching you.
Heck yeah. Hi, 45 people. How are you today?
Take over.
Phil's hyping up that tuna bite and the yellowtail bite and stuff like that. What we have going on here at 22nd Street Landing is a lot of big yellowtail and a lot of big sea bass. We kind of stuck to our guns here, just fishing the island, Santa Barbara, San Nicolas, San Clemente Island. It's all been fly line sardines for the yellowtail and live squid for the sea bass. So if you guys want to join any one of our boats at 22nd Street Landing, you know where to find us. We're 141 West 22nd Street and 22ndstreet.com.
Is that it?
That's all I got.
You didn't burn the show down like I thought you were going to.
Come on in. I'll swatch.
Mauricio is here, everybody. I am so happy. Mike Morrison, our manager. The man that, hey, Mike, I'll see you at the Orange County Fair tomorrow.
Yes.
Make sure you behave yourself.
We're going to go see Fair tomorrow night. Woo!
Yeah, we'll see. Oh, my God, we got our intern here now. Alex, stick your head in there. Everybody's late. What the hell is this? All right, perfect. Get over there and run this thing. All right. Hey, Mauricio, let's see your mic. It looks perfect.
All right.
How are you, my friend?
I'm doing very well.
I was starting to push the panic button like my guest is not going to show up, but your lovely wife, Savannah, said, don't worry, I promise he's coming.
Yeah,
so it's good to see you, man.
Got off the boat a little later.
Don't worry about
Stayed
it.
out a little late on the 3/4 day. Left myself plenty of time to get here on time, but then we got hung up at the dock for a lot longer than I thought. So that's all right.
That's all right. Was
had a
it
good
for
day.
a good reason? You had a good
Yeah,
day?
yeah.
Tell me about your day. Let's start there, and then I've got a ton of questions for you. And we've got tons of people up here who are going to ask you questions
Good.
also.
Awesome.
Go ahead.
We went out 3/4 day fishing today, open party, and we've had quite a bit of people on the boat, pretty much every day for this summer. And I didn't want to take a open party group with a full boat out offshore when, that could be a long drive
Hit
for
and
nothing.
miss kind of
yeah,
thing.
Yeah. So we've been seeing them on our charters, that say, yeah, we want to go offshore. All right, we'll give it a try. We'll go look. And we've been seeing fish. We got the last time I talked to you.
You had a
We had
Dorado,
a few
right?
Dorado
Yeah.
with Bo running the boat.
Remember when the kids trip? You had the kids trip, and I told you got to go out there and catch some Dorado. And we
Right.
both laughed like, that's not going to happen. And then, boom.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I knew we had been seeing it. If you had enough time to get out there far enough to the cleaner water, there's a lot of fish and a lot of potential.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bait too, though, and I think they're still so stuck on the bait that's out there. They're not wanting to bite what we're throwing at them.
Is it smaller bait or something?
Yeah,
or?
a lot of it's anchovy. When we cut one of the Dorado we got today, cut it open, it had a mackerel in there with the chovy too, but mainly all smaller anchovy inside.
So you
of
were
them.
offshore today,
We did. We spent most of our day offshore.
and was it good?
When we were in that clean water, we saw one kelp, and that was the only kelp that had fish on it. When we made our way back into some warmer water, a little closer to the coast, it was a little bit dirtier, but a better temperature.
Yeah.
And it seemed like there was some fish in the area, but they weren't boiling or anything. They weren't really wanting to show themselves. We didn't get any bites. But when we were out in that cleaner water, that was a lot of fish. There was a couple acres of Dorado kind of just...
Really?
Yeah, and they looked, the way they were puddling, usually you're seeing Dorado boil and
Yeah.
jump out of the water. They weren't breaking the surface. They were just kind of leaving a puddle as they were turning their heads on the bait.
Oh,
And
wow.
we're seeing the birds come down, and it was probably like a 1/4 mile away from the kelp patty. Like they weren't even anywhere near the kelp.
Wow.
Yeah, so we saw the birds first.
And you're saying a couple of acres of flatheads? That's pretty
once,
bitchin'.
because like I said, first we saw the foamer or the little bird school diving down and
Yeah.
the puddling fish, and we're like, what is that? We hadn't seen the kelp yet. The kelp's still a 1/4 mile off our starboard bow, you know, and we're like, well, what the heck? We'd seen the birds from a real long ways away, and we decided to go take a look at it, and we got close enough to where I'm going, all right, well, it's definitely fish under the birds, but I can't tell what it is. And then, like I said, they were doing that funny puddle motion where they weren't breaking the surface, but you could tell it was a fish.
Yeah.
And one just decided to come screaming out of the water, and I kind of got real excited and grabbed the PA. Oh, it's Dorado! Let's see what we can do.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. We pulled back the throttle, and because they were all right there, nowhere near the kelp. So many of them.
I think your mic fell off.
Oh, okay.
Did it?
I don't think so. It was pointing up.
Oh, no, there
It
you
was
go. I'm
hiding
sorry. Go ahead.
behind the
Yeah,
buttons.
there you go.
But-
And go ahead. Yeah, I screwed you up.
No,
Go.
no, that's fine. So we stopped the boat there, and just the way we had positioned on those puddling fish, it gave us the perfect drift up to the kelp. So we ended up making our way to the kelp, and as we sat there a little longer, that one puddler turned into on the other side of the kelp, we saw some boiling.
Wow.
And then, down swell a few hundred yards, there was some boiling out of the water until every direction you looked all the way around.
Mauricio, this is like breaking news as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it's game on here now with
They
these.
weren't biting. We couldn't
No,
really
but they're
get them,
here,
but
right?
They're here, yeah. We decided.
How many did you get? How many did you end up with?
We landed 4, all on the troll. We hooked I apologize. We landed 3, all on the troll, hooked a 4th. It spit the troll jig out, and then hooked a 5th on bait. Every time we hook one on troll, we stop the boat. We
What were you getting
some
bit on the
baits.
troll? Just feathers?
Zucker feathers.
Okay.
We had one with a bunch of hoochies. We made a daisy chain with a zucker at the back, and then a couple where it was just the one zucker feather on it. Different colors were getting bit: the blue and white, the black and green. And then we had a root beer color that didn't get bit, but the blue and white and black and green was getting bit.
Okay, Rick Slater says, keep up the great work. Do the zucchini or Mexican flag tuna lures still work?
Yeah, the Mexican flag's a super popular one, and that zucchini has always been, I think, more of a Dorado color. They like those bright colors. The pinks and purples work really well for Dorado a lot of the time. But, a lot of people say, too, you just got to be out there dragging something.
Yeah.
They'll eat almost anything if you're in the right place at the right time. You just got to be out there dragging something behind the boat. And today they didn't want to bite any baits on the hook. We got one bite out of all the time we sat there drifting with all those fish puddling around us, boiling around us. One bait got bit, and we didn't land it. But they were biting the troll pretty good. We trolled around it until, we couldn't get a bite. And
it's exciting.
yeah,
it's
as soon
exciting
as you
for
came
me
back
here.
around, as soon as you came back around the kelp and did a troll by and you got back in that little zone, I didn't want to turn the boat too tight, so we'd kind of do wider ovals around it.
Yeah.
Once we'd come back around to the kelp, we'd get bit again.
And it was straight flatheads on the kelp? There was no yellows?
No,
or...
and when that last trip we done a couple weeks ago, there were yellows cruising with them.
Yeah.
Not as many, but they were there. Today we didn't see any yellows. A bunch of mola were sitting under the kelp with them. But
Today?
Yeah,
that's funny.
that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Like a freaking aquarium, it sounds like, huh?
Seriously,
Yeah.
It was nuts. A couple, anywhere from 8 pounds to, we saw a couple that looked like they were 25, maybe 30-pound bulls jumping out of the water.
Really?
And a lot of fish. So widespread. Normally when you see Dorado, or at least in my experience, they're tightly packed in a school, cruising around hunting.
But
these ones were so spread out. And it must just have been all the bait in the area that they were already feeding on.
God, that sounds so good. So what's your plan on the Clemente now? Are you offshore every day? Or
no,
that's
definitely
tempting,
not.
isn't it?
It is. But depending
may
on
not
the
be
bait
ready.
situation, depending on what bait we're getting from the receiver, how many passengers we have on the boat. Like I said, trying to go offshore and getting everyone to drift on one side of the boat when you have 40 people on the boat can be really tough. But if you can get 30 people or less, you can get everyone lined up on one side, wind in your face, dropping your baits back, getting them away from the boat. You don't get tangled up too bad. So if you got a little lighter load, and it also depends, if you see it's a bunch of, kids and parents that just want to catch something, you don't want to drive around all day.
Right. I get
But
it.
if you get a couple hardcore anglers that look like they got the right gear and, they know what they're in for, go out there and
so
try.
like if you take me, we're going Dorado fishing, but if you take Alex, our intern, probably sculpin, right?
Well, try to put something in the
you
bag.
figured Alex out already. I love it. Sculpin. He has trouble with that. Hey, 540 Slinger, that's Jeff. He says hi to Mike. Mike's gone. I'll say hi to him. Ed Nesbitt is in 112-degree weather in Palm Desert. He says, good evening, everybody. Hey, guys, from Eld Fishing, Carson, California. Then we got JC Lopez. I took that kid, Mauricio, Dodo Lopez, on his first tuna trip. Do you remember that?
I do.
Who is that?
Yes.
Is that a relative
my
of yours?
uncle, yeah.
Oh, man. You're Tio.
Yes.
Tio, ¿cómo se llama él?
Juan Carlos.
Oh, Juan Carlos. Tio Juan Carlos. Bienvenidos, hermano. And so do you remember that stuff?
I do.
Yeah?
My dad taking me fishing, we pretty much only fished island stuff, targeting yellowtail. I didn't do my first tuna trip till I was in middle school.
Yeah.
So I remember that pretty good. It was actually a charter with his company. He worked at Ganal Lumber at the time, and they would do a little charter for the guys, and they had some extra room, and they said, you can invite some friends or family out too, and he was like, I know exactly who I'm going to invite. So we went out there, and it was a lot of fun. It was my first time, like I said, doing any of that offshore tuna stuff. So I was all pretty new to me. I had learned a couple new knots from the crew. It was a really knowledgeable crew that were very friendly and helpful. We were on the Eclipse, so it was a fun time.
God, that sounds like it. And it's such a vivid memory, it sounds like.
I got to score my first yellowfin and bluefin.
Wow.
Yeah,
so it spurred you on, huh? I mean, it just increased your appetite for fishing, and especially offshore.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think just because that's what I grew up doing with my dad, fishing the islands for yellowtail, bass, bonita, barracuda, that's always going to hold that special place in my heart. That's what I love to do.
Right.
But there's nothing like, watching those tuna boil and you hook one and they just start zinging that drag off the reel fast.
Man, I'll tell you, man. When I was a kid working on the Searcher down in San Diego, I was probably 17, 18, something like that. Frank LaPreste was running that boat in those days. And they used to have horns on the boat lines. So the freaking air horns, when the boat line would get bit, the air horn would go off. So there was it would just blow. So in case you weren't paying attention, like you should be all the time when you're sitting on the bait tank, the air horn would go off. And Mauricio, I'm telling you, it was like Pavlov's dogs. I'd go up in the parking lot for the half hour you have off to BS with somebody or eat a sandwich or whatever, if you had a half hour.
Right.
And somebody would sound one of those freaking air horns, and I would freaking jump out of my skin because you're so programmed. And I love that offshore fishing, albacore fishing, big eye tuna fishing, all that. Dorado, there's something really special about it. I like it all. Island, local, it's all fun, right?
It's funny this time of year when a lot of what we do is that, bass fishing local to the coast. We're not, going to the island unless we get a 5 to 5.
Yeah.
We can't make it there on our 3/4 days, but we do all right on the coast with the bass and stuff. And then this time of year we start getting a chance to go offshore. And you'll notice with the guys, they get so fired up. Our crew members will get so fired up to get the chance to go look offshore when we start getting the opportunity. And we're all tuned in like that, waiting. So as soon as we start trolling for a couple days, we'll go back in bass fishing in the shallow water. There's no trollers, and someone will pull a clicker off, and all the crew members looking to see who's bit, even though we're not even trolling.
I love it, man. I totally love it. Joel wants to know, how far offshore did you fish today?
We made it a little past the 14. We were below the 14 a little ways, Lawson's Knoll.
You don't have to give up your exact, whatever you want to. But you can say how far, like 10 miles, 12 miles.
We're about
15,
17
16 miles
from the harbor. We're about 17 from the harbor.
And you're looking for that clean water, clean, warm water.
Yeah. Today was, the clean water was a little cooler, and then that warm water had a little green tint to it.
Yeah.
When we were crossing over the temperature breaks and stuff.
Right.
So that and all that bait in the area, I think if that bait moves out or gets eaten in the next week or so and that water cleans up a bit, it's going to be game on.
So it's only a matter of time the way you're looking at this, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so many times, Mauricio, you see the fish, they move in, you go through that really frustrating time where, why aren't they biting? And then all of a sudden, the light switch goes on.
Day,
and it's,
exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Every year, that's how it happens. That first wave of fish comes through, and we're seeing it, but it's not really biting, and it takes a little bit for it. It's settled in already, and we're seeing it. You got a shot at it. You're going out there trying, but you're not hooking a lot. And then one day, a flip switches. Someone turn the lights on and they start biting. You just got to be out there on the right day trying.
Man, I'll tell you, from what I'm hearing from you tonight, I'm excited. There seems to be a lot of fishing. I mean, we're just getting the tip of the iceberg.
Exactly.
There's more coming.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
We've only tried on the Clemente 3 trips offshore now so far, and some of the other boats in the fleet have been doing some offshore trips this past couple weeks and seeing it and hooking a couple here and there. So it's there. It's like we were saying, just a matter of time till it really turns on and starts eating the baits that have hooks in them.
I'm totally excited about that. Notice our intern shutting the door when you don't have to lock it, though. I don't want to be locked in here with him, do you?
He doesn't look that scary. He looks like he's a hardworking
young man. You don't know him that well. let me tune you up on that. I'm excited about what I'm hearing. Let me go back to that. And what we're going to do is, because we get so many questions here, especially when we have a great guest like you. I tell you, when I met you briefly that day, because I couldn't go on the trip, I walked away saying, what a nice young man.
Thank you.
And then you talked about your father, and I have told numerous people since that time, what a nice young man. I mean that sincerely. So we're going to I want to find out how you got into fishing and your expertise, but we got like current questions that we can't ignore.
Please, if when it comes to questions, or especially when it comes to stories of me starting off fishing, if I go off on some tangent,
that's what this show's all about.
Right,
we
can
go
talk for hours if you don't stop me.
Oh my God, this is going to be a 3-hour show, Alex. We're going to run out of battery on that thing. I'll tell you that. I can see that already happening. All right, let me look at, hi Mauricio, hope to see you on the Clemente on our trip Saturday, Paul and Deb. Do you know them?
Yeah.
You probably want to look out there and say hi to them.
Yeah, I'm working on Saturday. I'll be cooking, but I'll be there. So.
And MLG Eric says, hi, Uncle Mauricio. You know him?
Eric, I do.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You probably want to say hi to your wife.
Hello,
too.
Savannah.
Savannah saved your butt. I was ready to pull the plug on this thing, go home and go to sleep.
No,
I would never do that. I knew you were on your way.
Thank you.
All right. Sifa says, love these on Tuesdays. Thank you, Phil, your Long Beach fan base. It's exactly the opposite. I have to thank you for your constant support and for tuning us up all the time. I really, really mean that. Jeff says, have the local bass been biting artificials? He wants to know.
We had anchovy there for a couple weeks, and the bass were super fired up on it. And I've been kind of saving a tank of chovy, using it real sparingly, so we have it for the week, because the last 3 or 4 days hasn't been any anchovy at the bait receiver. It's all been big sardine, big mackerel.
So you got to hang on to that.
So I'm hanging on to that, using it sparingly, but enough to, try to make a day out of it. And we're getting a lot of action. We're not getting a whole lot of keepers. You're getting maybe 10 keeper bass for the day, maybe some sheephead whitefish. Yesterday I pulled into some real shallow reefs and got a few triggerfish. I think we lost a few more. That was cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's, once again, plenty of fish to be caught, just not a lot going in the bag per se, but it's been 2 days ago, I think we had over 300 bass released, over 300 shorts.
Oh my God. Well, I mean, most people don't keep bass anyway. A lot of people
especially
don't.
Dana Point, I'm really surprised that, it's spread so much. Like, a lot of people have up and down the coast when I fish other landings have even said it. Like, I guess it's commonly known that Dana Point's, being the bass capital, tries to practice catch and release with them. And a lot of our passengers there do.
Is that important to you?
I think so.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of different things from different anglers, and some of the anglers that come out with us are buddies with a lot of different, the biologists and scientists that come out. They do some of the trips that study the black sea bass and stuff, and so he's tagged along on them. And based on some of the things I've heard from them, they say once those calico bass get big enough, they start eating the smaller bass too. So I've heard mixed, feelings about it. But regardless, that big bass, when it comes time to spawn, is creating big eggs and big healthy babies.
Man, I'll tell you, Mauricio, I wish we would go to a slot limit on calico bass. It works so well for the redfish fishery in Florida. What you end up with is these giant, you would get to a point where the giant calicos you got to throw back, and then there's that slot that you can keep. And man, it just turned their fishery around. They were on the brink of going down the tubes. And all the guys, when they said, we're going to do a slot limit, said, no, you're going to put us out of business. And every single one of those guys now said, hey, thanks for doing that. You saved our asses.
Right.
Slot limit would be great. But, they say it's a little too complicated and blah, 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 blah. You guys are releasing them. I think that's great. You know? Yeah, I think it's wonderful.
A lot of other crew members from other boats, if they get a day off and they come fishing, whether it's on a Dana Wharf boat or not, I've been out on a couple overnights that weren't on the Fury, and I ran into some crew members down in San Diego that were on their day off fishing too, and they had a couple 8-pound bass at San Clemente Island, and they were releasing them. All the guys the fishermen that, it's more than just a hobby. It's something they love and something that they practice and get out there and do as often as they can. They're not there to kill the fish. They're there to catch the fish, and it's fun to keep them and to eat them, especially if you aren't going to let them go to waste and you're going to eat them, for sure. But the people that are doing it because they love it and they want to do it every day, if possible, which obviously, it's tough to fish every day. You got a job and other responsibilities.
Right.
But to a real fisherman, that's all that's going through your head. You want to be on the water every day. You're checking the fish counts,
exactly.
What they catch today, what I miss out on.
Yeah, what's going to happen this weekend when I am going fishing.
Those hardcore anglers are usually the ones that are releasing most of those bass too, because they know it makes it.
My son Philip, he will not take a calico bass. Patrick is a little different. He's like me. I came out of that era, where they take it, and I like to eat fish, and so, but to kind of drive your point home, these trips are way more than taking a fish and killing it. We were just on the Malahini, okay?
Okay.
We caught 0 fish. I had a freaking great time. There was so many great people on there. We got a great show on the big bluefin, busted off a bunch, couldn't hang on to them. You know that story.
Yeah.
And we had a great time. It's about the adventure. It's about getting out on the water. Just as you were just saying, it's not about a dead fish all the time.
Right. Yeah. And that's definitely one of the things you got to kind of realize when you go out there fishing. You're fishing. If you're catching them, if you caught a handful of fish that day, that's a good day. You caught something.
Absolutely.
They were biting. There's days where you go out there and you can't buy a bite. You're fishing all day, and even when you're doing everything right, and you just can't get a bite, whether it's offshore or local bass fishing. There's days where you can't get a bass to bite.
Jessica Gilmore, you know her?
Yeah.
Hey, Mauricio, keep up the great work.
Thank you, Jessica.
April Bean says, hey, Phil. April, you're number 1. Gloria Guerrero, do you know her?
I do.
She says, great show. Well, she says good show, but I'm saying great show, Gloria. Just kidding. And Mauricio Lopez. Who's Gloria? Friend of yours?
I'll bet you it's actually my dad on there that's posting it, but he's probably using Gloria's account. Gloria's his wife.
Oh,
so
okay.
It's probably her YouTube account that he's watching on tonight.
Yes.
And probably commenting on.
Were you lying to me the other day when you told me that you and your dad are big fans of the morning briefing and you watch it every day? And...
I don't get a chance to watch it.
Oh, you were lying to me.
I watch it as often as I can,
Yeah.
Same with the Let's Talk Hookup. I don't listen to that nearly as much
Yeah,
as I wish I could.
sometimes you're busy, right?
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. But my dad doesn't miss an episode.
Really?
Yeah, the last time...
What's your dad's first name?
Mauricio, I'm a junior.
Mauricio.
Yeah.
Does he speak Spanish?
He does.
Mil gracias, hermano. Gracias, gracias, gracias.
But he's on top of it. The last time Savannah and I went to visit him, we walked in the house and he had one of your shows.
Oh, I love you. Te amo mucho. I'm getting a little carried away here. All right, Rocket Dog. Yo, Phil and Peeps. How's everyone? Doing good, Rocket Dog. Kai Fish Killer. They taste too good. I eat them, but let the bigger 3 pounds and up be released. So that's another way to do it, right?
Yeah, and if you're utilizing it, because that's another big thing on sport boats that, there's a lot to the industry, seen and unseen. That the passengers don't get to go behind the scene and see everything that goes on. And you don't know what all the other passengers that are getting off the boat are doing. And I know firsthand from talking to them, and a lot of passengers don't realize what they're getting themselves into if they're first timers. You're tired and beat at the end of the day. You got your fish filleted, they're in the fillet bag, you get home, you don't prep it, you throw it in the freezer. A year goes by, you pull it out, you throw it away. It happens a lot more often than you think.
And that's wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you're going to utilize it, and if you're not going to get the chance to eat it, but you thought you were, give it to your neighbor or someone that likes fish. That's got to be probably one of the nicest gestures that you could do with something as far as respecting the catch, right?
Yes, definitely.
If you're not going to eat it, and that person that you gave it to is usually, especially if they like fish, fish has a good market price no matter what species.
Darn right.
People are super stoked if you're, taking the time to, hey, I thought about you. I had a couple fish. I know you like fish. Here's dinner for the night.
I do it all the time because I don't like to freeze fish. So if I have a lot of fish, I take what I can eat fresh and then I give it away.
Yeah.
And it makes it, like you said, people are happy about that.
Yeah.
Ed Nesbitt says, I have a big question. Well, I hope you have a big answer. I've been wondering for a while. I was on a bluefin charter and the deckhand sliced the bloodline on the outside of the skin and lots of blood came out. Why don't they all do that? Well, you probably can't answer that, but why do they do it? What's the benefit of bleeding the fish?
So, especially at Dana Wharf, tuna, you gotta, pelagic species, yellowtail tuna, all that, you gotta bleed it, right? And most of the boats in California have all come together and started really taking care of the catch.
They pretty much have, yeah.
Yeah, if they don't have a RSW, they're doing some sort of a saltwater brine on those overnights and day and a halfs for the tuna, when you're out there pelagic fishing. And we try to bleed all of our fish, whether it's a rockfish or a bass.
You do?
We do.
Oh, that's excellent service.
Yeah, so we bleed them all. If it's a 3/4 day and it's a hot day, they're going to go in the cooler. You know, on the half days, we'll sprinkle some ice in your bags to try to keep them cold.
Fantastic.
We try to do our best to give you that good product too, you know, if you are going to keep the fish.
Yeah.
But regardless of what you eat, and what I tell the passengers when they ask every time they see us pulling a vein or pulling a gill, or, well, what are you doing? Oh, we're bleeding it out. Why do you do that? Any piece of meat you went to the store to buy went through this whole process where it was, you know, butchered properly by a professional who bleeds it, skins it, and takes it apart so that they can package it to sell to you.
Right.
Well, what's different about your fish? You shouldn't just throw it in a bag and forget about it all day.
That's
and let it sit. You know, bleed it out, cool it off. Once it's done bleeding and it's dead, put it on ice, you know, to really chill it. Yeah. You know, you want to let the fish kind of lose some of its body temperature from fighting and getting out, you know, getting all pumped up and the blood's rushing after it just put up a fight for its life.
Right, exactly.
So you want to bleed them out and let it cool off a little bit, because I'm sure its temperature did go up a bit before you put it in the ice. And then
poor little thing. Of course its temperature went up. You just yanked it out of its home.
Right. So, you know, you let them finish bleeding out, let them cool off a bit so they're not shaking around in the ice all crazy, beating themselves up, and then you can put them in the RSW or the ice chest or whatever you're doing to keep them cold that day. So
good stuff, and treat your catch with the respect that it deserves. Right.
Back to the cutting the outside, though. There's a lot of different methods to it, just like anything else. You know, there could be 100 right ways, but you got to figure out the way that you like and what works best for you. Whether it's because it's, you know, a red hot bite where every crew member's got a gaff and they're throwing them over the rail and you don't have time to pull a knife out and walk around with a sharp knife and cut them. There's other methods to it. You carry a pair of pliers or scissors in your sheath and you can go in the gills through there. You can actually find the little vein underneath the gill plate right here, kind of where their throat would be, I guess you could say. Yeah. And you can poke a membrane and find the little vein that's attached to their heart and pluck that, and it'll bleed it out really quick.
You taking notes on this, Alex? Very good. Yeah, excellent. Yeah, I mean, your product is superior after that. And I don't care what you say. You cannot go buy fish like what you catch on a sport boat. Right. You can't.
Right.
It's so inferior, the quality. I don't care if you go to the best fish market, it's not going to be the same as the fish you just plucked from the sea. Yeah. And then when you guys are going to all these extra steps to make sure that the product is even better, slam dunk, baby. Fish taco time.
That's right.
Your dad's on there. How's your Spanish? Do you speak Spanish? I forget. I asked you that, didn't I?
Yeah, you know, I'm not
Un
fluent.
poquito?
Yeah.
Can I say something to your dad in Spanish?
Of course, yeah.
He says he watches every day. Te agradezco demasiado. Pero yo no estoy hablando de su hijo tanto, porque él no está llamándome. Entonces, cuando él regresa a la casa, tienes que hablar con él y decir, tienes que llamar a este gringo para que tú puedas estar en el morning briefing también. Okay. Did you get any of that?
I was picking up on some of it.
Yeah. All right. I told your dad, I appreciate him watching the morning briefing every day, but I'm not talking that much about you because you're not calling me with your information. So when he gets home tonight, you have a talk with him. I'm telling your father, and make sure he calls. I'm just kidding around.
Yeah,
right?
No, I get it, though.
I'm kidding. Don't worry about it. All right, JC Lopez. Phil, I still have VHS copies of your 976 tuna shows. Oh, my God. That's great. I mean, I don't even have oh, you know what? Bob Alvarez, who edited those with me, he's got them on a YouTube channel. I'll have to find out what that is. I forget what it is.
I've watched quite a bit of them.
You know what? Be honest now. I thought my voiceover was terrible. I thought it was so over the top. People loved it, it seemed like. But when I listen to it now, I cringe. I'm like, oh my God, that is awful. And I'm like, it's horrible, isn't it?
No, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. But I remember being, you know,
a kid? Really?
Yeah,
and watching that?
I want to say 5, 6 years old and waking up as early as I could before the sun was up and trying to find it on TV.
Oh my God.
And it didn't matter what fishing show it was.
That's
we were
funny.
Trying to watch any of them. And as soon as I found those on YouTube, because I found the ones that Bob had posted on YouTube and watched.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I went and rewatched them and heard that intro, heard your voice, and remembered it immediately. And
that's funny.
Anytime I'm on a sport boat, I don't know if it's a good thing or not, but I feel like that's the energy I'm giving off. I'm just hooting and hollering as loud as I can.
Yeah, you totally are. I can feel it right here. Not only are you a great kid, but you've got a certain great enthusiasm for the sport, and it just exudes from your personality. So it certainly does.
I thought it was awesome. And you could ask my coworkers, the other captains I've worked with, or my dad, you know, not making fun of you in any way, but trying to match that enthusiasm.
Oh, I know. I've heard that, you know, like guys still, when I run into them, they do the voice on the phone. And some of these guys remember stuff that I've forgotten. and every time that happens, I am so grateful that these people remember me and thought it was a great thing. I'm very honored by that. I absolutely am. I had a bunch of people stop me in San Diego the other day, and you know, I just have to stop and shake hands and thank them. I'm very grateful for all the support we're getting with this new venture and with my past stuff also. It's really great stuff, Mauricio. I see a bright future for you, that is for sure. Let me catch up on a couple more questions, then I'm going to have some questions for you also. Kai Fish Killer, right on, guys. Same thing, fresh way, better than frozen. Emily Lopez, do you know Emily Lopez?
That could be JC's daughter, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. I think she's saying hi to JC.
Okay, yeah.
You don't want to say hi to Mauricio, Emily? What's the problem? You guys have a thing going on, or?
I don't know. I haven't seen her in a long while.
I get it.
A lot of since I moved down to Oceanside, you know, with work, I haven't seen much of either side of the family other than my parents, you know, but grandparents, cousins, and uncles, I haven't seen too much lately. I've been so focused on work, and I feel bad about it. I do try, and I do want to go see them.
How old are you?
26.
Okay, yeah, you're a kid. Yeah, I mean, you don't feel like it, but when you're 90 like me, you're a kid, okay? And you're an exceptional person, no question about it. I can see that. So I'm guessing that your lovely father, your wonderful father, got you into fishing. Is that how it happened?
Yeah.
Do you remember the first fishing trip you went on? Can you remember that, or
no?
Can you remember just your father taking you places?
Yeah, we pretty much fished out of Redondo or right here out of 22nd Street.
Really?
Yeah, we fished the first string a lot.
So when you come here tonight, did it bring back memories?
I was thinking about that on my way here because, like I said, traffic was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And I was using my GPS because I've actually never been here from, you know, coming from the south. I've only ever come to 22nd Street, coming from LA, coming, you know, driving south, coming from up north. This was my first time making the drive from down in Orange County coming up here. So it was a different route for me, so to say, at the beginning. But yeah, you get into the harbor, you see all the different islands, all the different containers stacked up.
Yeah, right.
It
brings back those great memories.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Your father says in Spanish, he wrote too, he's going to talk to you about getting those reports into me. Your wife says it's always good having positive energy on the boat. She is so right on about that. Man, I mean, when you're fishing with a negative person or a group of negative people, it's really easy to go like and become negative yourself. It's difficult to stay, and you have to stay positive. And but when you have that positivity that your wife is referring to, man, like I said, you can go out and catch nothing and have a great trip and have a lot of fun.
Yeah, and a big part of this type of fishing we do here on these sport boats, it's called sport fishing. You know, just like any other sport, this is something Chris Pica says all the time, and when we do our kids clinics at Dana Wharf, he makes sure to include it in them. But if you want to be good at baseball or soccer, what do you have to do? You got to go to practice, right? If you want to get good at a sport, you got to go to practice.
That's
you got to practice. Same with sport fishing. You want to be good at it, you have to practice. And, you know, from there, I just started thinking about it more and getting more in depth, and how could I really, you know, lay this on the table for people to understand when I'm trying to tell them. I wanted to work in that whole, it's sport fishing, you have to practice. And going back to starting off with my dad, you know, practice. He would make me go sit in the front yard. Well, not make me, I wanted to, but it was one of those things that he'd sit there critiquing me while I was in the front yard done with homework, and we'd tie a little clothespin on or a little 4-inch swim bait on the end of the rod. And I'd practice casting the swim bait with no lead head or the clothespin. And,
fantastic.
you know, you got to practice.
Yeah.
Everything from pinning the bait on, handling the bait so you're not squeezing it to death when you're trying to put the hook on it. You know, having a nice lively bait. When you cast that bait after you've pinned it on the hook properly, you don't want to slap it on the water so hard that you kill it or stun it. You know, you want to get a nice, easy cast that gets a good distance away from the boat without killing the bait.
Right.
You know, it all comes down to practice. And if you come out on the boat and practice your best and get into good habits every time, the fish decide when it's game time. You're just out there practicing.
Right.
And the more you practice, the better you get, and you might be able to get that leading edge on the other anglers, so on a tough day, you might be that standout hot
That's
stick.
right. You're choosing the good hot bait.
Right,
You're getting
right.
that bait in the water. You're
And-
changing your bait regularly. You're doing all those
Exactly.
things.
Yeah, and then when the fish decide it's game time and it bites wide open, you're definitely the hot stick, and you're probably, you're not going to be dealing with the tangles and everyone else is getting bit, going left, right, under, over. You've already got it down because you're so well practiced.
100%. Arnie Man has a panga down in beautiful Ensenada, Baja California. Saludos, hermano. And he's been having, I mean, this might be a preview of what's headed our way, what they're catching down there.
Right.
So he had a marlin the other day. That's going to pop up here. There's a lot of yellowfin, just stacked up Dorado. So think about it. Your day to day, you saw all those Dorado. Then we look at Arnie, who's down there eating palomitas. He gets palomitas for this show, which is popcorn. And he gets all his buddies together. There's a whole bunch of them in Ensenada watching us right now.
Oh, awesome.
And,
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, right? And so we got that huge areas of Dorado there. Man, there's just a wall of flatheads walking up our coast,
Yeah.
painting the possibility of an extraordinary fall. It's going to be a great fall.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Everything, even the inshore fishery, just like that offshore stuff, for a while there, it seemed like the San Diego fleet was only maybe 20 miles outside of their harbor.
Yeah, right.
It came up real close for a
Yes.
second. The weather switched around and it kind of scooted its way back down, but it's on its way back up again.
Yeah.
And same thing with the Dorado and all those other species. They're slowly making their way up. It's a little later than last year and a little later than the year before that, but it's still coming up and, it's kind of getting back to normal maybe. Even.
Yeah, it seems like it. It seems like this is more normal, like what we're seeing right now.
It's been phenomenal for the past, since when was it? 2014, 2015 when we started, and then in 2016 we started seeing wahoo in California.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, it's just been like this awesome. We've been spoiled rotten, and in these last 2 years, it's kind of coming back to the average norm,
Kind of, yeah. But I mean, we're going to be walking on Dorado, it sounds like, and probably following that is going to be that yellowfin tuna. There's a lot of that down below. I hear the long range boys getting that, and then it's walking up there to Ensenada. There's a lot of it there. Sean Morgan, he's the guy that ran boats out of here for like 30 years. He's on a yacht coming up from San Jose del Cabo, and he was leaving Bahia Tortuga, Turtle Bay today. It was really, it was hard to hear him. But I did hear they baited 4 swordfish. They had several marlin, including a 300-pound blue, all kinds of Dorados. I didn't even think of this. Now there's more Dorado down there. There's 1,000 miles of Dorado almost.
Yeah.
From what I'm hearing from Sean and everybody. It's incredible stuff. And here we are sitting in Southern California on the Clemente or whatever other boat you want. I mean, it's looking really good. It's not there yet. But man, the experience you had today, and Arnie is saying also, when he was 17 years old, he used to catch lots of albacore. He's hoping for that. I am too. Arnie says, a question, what is the maximum speed you have trolled for marlin? Do you troll for marlin? Do you know? They'll bite the jigs pretty fast.
Yeah, we've put marlin lures out quite a bit, especially when we are fishing for tuna. We've already got all of our, spread out there trying to get anything else. You might as well throw that one marlin jig back with them. You send it back a little deeper than the rest of your feathers anyways, so it's not going to get in the way. I personally haven't been on the boat when we've hooked a marlin on the troll, but like I said, we've trolled for them, and on some of my days off, they've got them on the troll. All the marlin, on the Oceanside 95, the first boat I worked on, we had a marlin on the troll. It ate the Marauder. I'm not sure how fast we were going, but we were going, to speed because we were trying to get those wahoo.
Right.
So we were going, pretty fast with the Marauder, and the marlin bit it.
Yep. Yeah, I've had jig strikes, it seems to me like in Baja, going well over 12 knots and you get a jig strike on that. And I can specifically remember, Mauricio, being on the Searcher as a kid, deckhand. I can specifically remember because it was so exciting to me, and I tried to figure out what exactly was going on, and in retrospect, I was able to piece it together. But a marlin came up on the jigs, all lit up, and Norm Kagawa used to run the Shogun. He was a deckhand with, I was with those guys, and they all yelled up to Lepreste, Frank, marlin, kick it! Like they wanted a fast troll. They went from the albacore troll, 7 knots, to kick it up, and he kicked it up, frickin' thing bit the jig, and we were on, and so I never forgot the excitement associated around that, Arnie. So good question. They'll bite it pretty fast, right?
Yeah. And, these Mad Max, the
Yeah.
lures and whatever Nomad, they're made to troll fast. You know, it seems like the faster you're going, the better off you've been. Some of the sport boats aren't going fast enough, you know,
Yeah, right.
for that particular lure. But if you have just the regular marlin feathers, not necessarily the marauder style diving lures, those feathers, you know, you could get away with doing that albacore speed at 7 knots, or I'm sure you could kick it up to 12 and still have a great shot. What are those big marauders and big feathers trying to imitate? A bonita or a baby dorado, or
Right.
you know, something like that they're trying to come eat. And those swim pretty darn quick, faster than a sport boat, I'd say.
Yes.
If it wanted to, if it needed to.
Yeah, right.
So
Incidentally, Sean Morgan, the guy that I mentioned with the swordfish and the marlin, he said he's got incredible video that when he arrives in Ensenada tomorrow, he's going to send to me. So I'll put that together for all of you, and you can see it, and your dad,
Yeah.
he can see it, everybody else. Travis Bright says, Savannah, absolutely. And Travis is referencing positivity
Yes.
on the boats. Travis was on the Malahini,
okay.
and we caught no fish, and I get a text from him as I'm driving home, I think, or the next day, I can't remember, and he goes, the people on that trip made that trip awesome. Because, you know, when I do a charter, I try to have that, you know, brotherhood, sisterhood. Everybody, we're all in this together. Let's have fun. And you see it, man. You see it all the time when we have those groups. So Travis is a great guy. 540 Slinger, that is Jeff. He says, I agree with Mauricio about practicing. All our club meetings lately have been at a place we could practice casting. We got together with Jeff and with Island Fishing Tackle a couple months ago, and we did an outdoor casting thing. So we were going to do something at the park. We had 100 people show up.
Awesome.
It was
Wow.
freaking fun. It was awesome. So you're so right about that, man. It's like, you know, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice,
Exactly,
right?
Yeah.
Exactly. With whatever endeavor you're getting into.
Yeah, and with this fishing, you know, practice the little things. It's those little things that make a huge difference. You know, practice the right way. Don't walk up to the bait tank with your hook way up in the tip of the guide, you know, where you got to put a big old bend in your rod and you're trying to pin a bait on up over your head. You're not going to have it on there in a timely manner or in a very lively. You know, all those little things make a huge difference. Practice the right way and learn, you know, and if hopefully, depending on what boat you're on, they have a crew that's willing to help you and teach you if you're not, you know, that experienced.
And if not, go to another boat.
Exactly,
Okay?
yeah. It's
Seriously.
that whole stigma and
Ha ha ha, he doesn't know how to fish, what a dummy.
or,
Blah,
but
you
even
know,
that
come
I've
on.
noticed now in the last 4 or 5 years, you know, there's kind of that stereotype that deckhands can be like, you know, really rude or
Yeah.
quiet, or you know,
Yeah.
you can't really tell what they are. Like, is this guy pissed, or you know? And most of
Tired,
them,
or
exactly
yeah.
tired from working way too long, way too
Yeah,
hard.
right.
You know, but I mean, and maybe it's just because I've gotten lucky, but all the boats I've fished on in the last handful of years have had phenomenal crew, very friendly. You know, it hasn't been a problem or an issue.
Right. Me too. I've seen that too. I've also, but growing up so many years in this business, I've seen the other side of it too.
Right.
And it's ugly.
Yeah.
And it's like when the guy walks on the boat with his 2 kids and he doesn't know how to fish, that's not time to laugh at him and the gear that he brought on board. That's time to teach him
Right.
and have his kids have a great experience.
Yeah.
Like you do. And I'll go back to our kids trip in 1 minute. Jeanette says, I did a quick YouTube search for SoCal fishing, led me here, laughing out loud. This is interesting. Thanks. Love the internet. Jeanette!
That's pretty
welcome,
cool.
right?
Yeah.
She just found us here.
Yeah.
Jeanette, thank you. And, you know, we also are involved in a lot of, I told you, I think, we move a lot of stuff down to Mexico. So for Dia de Reyes on January the 6th, I think we're going to go to Cedros Island with thousands of gifts that I have in a warehouse right now that, not that I have donated, that all these people who watch this show, every time I say, hey, bring down some donations, this place gets filled up, and then I take it over to a warehouse, Gallagher Staging in La Mirada. I don't even know what's there anymore because I just drive up and, you know, I say, hey guys, and they come out with a forklift and take it. But I do know there's 700 soccer jerseys, there's all kinds of stuff. So that's part of this family also, Mauricio.
Well, that's awesome.
That's
Not
real.
only for you to do that, but for all of
Yes.
the viewers to come together and, you know, take the time to bring some stuff in and donate.
They're the heroes. I get to play
Exactly.
Santa Claus, and who doesn't like to play Santa Claus.
Right.
I'll take this to my grave. I played Santa Claus in China, of all places, and I never had such a freaking great time in my life. Those little Chinese kids were like, "Oh my God, it's Santa Claus!"
That's
I had
awesome.
so much fun. Yeah, I volunteer every year when I was teaching down there, so it was really great. Rick Slater, what happened to the tuna shuffle? I think the tuna shuffle is still a thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know what that is, right?
Yeah, your feet can't be cemented to the deck. You know, you got to move as soon as you cast that bait out. Unless you're on anchor, maybe. You know, if you're fishing on anchor for the local fishing, it's a little different. But yeah, if you're drifting, if the anchor's not down, you've got to follow your bait. No angles, no tangles, wind in your face, you're in the right place. You know, all those little things that make a huge difference.
That's great
you gotta
stuff.
do the tuna shuffle, moving left and right, under, over. Got to communicate, teamwork, you know, with all the other anglers on the boat. That's another part of the sport, right? You've got to work together and as a team.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you might want to catch more fish than everyone else, but if everyone else, including yourself, is just tangling, no one's going to get bit. But if you can work together, figure out what the current's doing, which way the wind's pushing the boat, and you can kind of get that little assembly line or conveyor belt going to where no one's tangling and they're following their lines. But that's all part of practice, you know. You're not going to know what that is if it's your first time on an offshore trip. Someone's got to show you and
That's
teach
right.
you. And
That's right. I'm going to make a comment about you right now. You are an extraordinary guest.
thank you.
You really are.
Thank you.
Yeah, do I get my 20 bucks now? I don't know. Just kidding. You are. You're awesome. Ed Nesbitt. In May, we caught all our bluefin on a daisy chain cedar plug. Nothing else worked. We tried flat fall knife jigs, fly line, and their nose was in the mud. Nice terminology there, Ed. I like that. Until we brought out the cedar plug. Cedar plugs are still pretty reliable, aren't they? They work, right? Yeah.
We had one, that trip with Bo, where we had the 3 Dorado. We had one out the whole time, and it never got touched. So we figured, well, let's switch it up to what was getting bit when we took the cedar plug out of the lineup today. But trust me, more often than not, if we're trolling, there's a cedar plug back there.
And that was, I mean, if you're just tuning in, you saw acres of Dorado today. That is breaking news and super exciting to me. I think it's awesome.
It was pretty, like I said, it was.
You're forgiven for being late now. Yeah, I forgive you. That's a good reason.
Thank you. Yeah.
No problem, my God. So the day that we ran the kids trip, I show up down there and I have my group of whatever it was, 30 or whatever.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I have people walking up to me and saying, "Hey, are you the chaperone for our kids?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm sorry, who are you?" And then there was a Boy Scout, or there was something else going on. And one of the guys said, "Well, you don't want our kids to go?" I go, no, I'm just trying to understand what's going on. And so I go to you, and now you've got twice as many people as we thought. And you're like, "We got this. We'll take care of this." And I go, "But do we have enough rental rods?" "Yeah, we got it. We got it." I got so many freaking phone calls at the end of that trip. Sam De La Torre, did you get to interact with him?
Yeah.
He's a great guy.
He was walking around taking pictures.
Yeah, he's super great guy.
So yeah, when he wasn't, helping out with the baits in the water, he was walking around with a phone snapping pictures of the fish we were catching.
So he raved about you guys. Then I had one of the Boy Scout guys come on my YouTube channel and say, "Fantastic, I got to meet you. You know, that was the bad part of the trip." No, he said it was great. And he said, they just had such a good time.
Good.
And I had some really, did you see that little video we put together with the photos? I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, my
Donna
wife
was
showed
crazy
me.
about
Yeah.
that. Donna was really happy as she was down there and she said, "Hey, Phil, let's do it. Come on, they're leaving. You're good at this." So she's great to work with. How do you like working with Donna and Dana Wharf Sportfishing? To me, just the little bit of time I spent there, it's a different level. It's a more professional level at that landing that I'm not putting anybody else down. There's other landings, same thing, but that's right up there with professionalism.
Yes, there's, a certain way they want things done, and it's because it's the professional way, the right way. It takes care of the passengers the right way, and, we are trying to be professional. It's run a lot different than other landings that I've seen. The marketing there, I feel like she does a great job at getting the wharf's name out, whether it's for whale watching or fishing. It's very hands-on and always, working hard to help promote and fill the boats. And, you can see that they're working hard to do their part too.
Absolutely.
And the maintenance on the boats, there's never a time where, they're not ready to whatever needs to get done, do it. We're not
Yeah.
slacking off or waiting or putting anything off. It's done in a timely manner the right way.
That's great. I don't know if she wants me to tell this story or not, but I'm going to tell it. I was up in the office with her, and a kid walked in. Kids are 18, 20 to me. And he was a kid from one of the boats that was just starting. I don't know if he was pinhead or deckhand, but she just looked at him like cross-eyed when I saw, and then she said, "Who are you?" And he goes, "Oh, I'm up here. I'm just trying to get some water," or I forget I needed to bring it down to the boat. And she's like, "You really need to put on." It was all oily, looked terrible, But I mean, a lot of deckhands dress that way. Not a Dana Wharf.
No, yeah.
Boom. Here's a new shirt. Put it on. Dress professionally here. I like that.
I came in all bloody after.
No, really. What's wrong with you?
If you walk in before work like this, yeah, she'll say, "Here's a fresh Dana Wharf shirt."
Yeah, right. Okay, so you've seen that before.
Yeah, I've come in.
I like that.
Yeah, yeah.
It just elevates. I mean, people in uniform and they're dressed nicely. I don't care if they are deckhands. It presents such a nice face for the landing. It's great.
Yeah.
And then that goes all the way down, right?
Definitely.
You feel that way.
Oh yeah. Trying to be professional all the way around.
Slam and Sammy, hello Friedman family. What's a good troll lure and setup to match it? Mauricio.
Well, there's a lot of different options as far as rods and reels go. Some people swear by Shimano, some people swear by Daiwa, some people are stuck with their old school pens, their 6/0 or whatever.
Yeah, right. They just stay with that.
As long as you're greasing them up and putting new drag washers in, it'll catch a couple fish for you. You just got to replace the drag washers next time.
Yeah, exactly.
So depending on your budget there and what you're targeting, because if it's going to be a trolling outfit, that you're probably going to do more of the Dorado, yellowtail, some of the smaller tuna. You don't need a great big reel, just something that could comfortably fit 60 or 80 pound on it that has the troll clips. Once again, Penn even makes newer stuff. You don't have to use the older 6/0s. They have the new Penn Fathoms and Torques.
Yeah, right.
That you can get in the 2-speed or the single speed. And
you recommend 2-speed?
For trolling, yeah.
Yeah. Because you might hang a pretty big fish on the troll.
Yeah, the only time I mean, especially with technology, the 2-speeds now are just as smooth as those star drags. They're just a little bulkier, to fit the more drag pressure and the gears and everything. Your frame itself is a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
So like if you're trying to get more of a smaller setup that's going to be comfortable to fit in your hands all day for casting a jig or something like that, then yeah, maybe the star drag. A lot of jig fishermen will tell you star drag all the way. But if it's for bait fishing, especially the sinker rigs or trolling, you don't necessarily have to worry about having, which, like I said, with technology, I think the lever drags and the star drags are neck and neck.
Yeah, right.
You'll still hear some of those guys that say, no, the star drag's going to have a much better free spool.
Yeah.
So if you were that picky about it, I don't think you'd have to worry about it for a trolling outfit. But I think the Penn Fathom 60 is the one that comes with the troll clips. If you're trying to clip it to the troll straps. Otherwise, the Penn Fathom 40 is probably big enough to troll with. It just doesn't have the little clips on it. Talica or the Speedmaster from Shimano. Once again, depending on what you're doing, they have multiple sizes that come with the troll clips. The 20, I'm not sure if it comes with the clips or not, but it's definitely big enough to troll with if you wanted, especially if you're on like your own private boat. On the sport boat, they definitely want you to have the bigger gear, and they don't expect you to bring it. Usually the sport boats will have the bigger gear on board for you to troll with, but if it's for your private boat, you don't need to get the great big old troll reels, the Talica 20, or if you start going up from there, they do have the clamps on them, I'm pretty sure, and you start getting a little bigger, you're going to have more line capacity. You could fit heavier line on it more comfortably. Daiwa has the Saltigas. I'm not sure if any of their Saltists come with the troll clamps. I'm sure they do, but...
And how about lures? Sammy was asking about your favorite lures, or do you recommend a variety of different stuff? You should have it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've got everything from Rapalas to jet heads, cedar plugs, different types
Mad Max. That's the big thing now, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And depending on the species, if I'm trying to troll for a Dorado, I'm not going to put a giant Mad Max like if I were trolling for 150-pound tuna.
Right.
So.
Have you seen any of those bluefin locally? I'm surprised you didn't bump into those. You know that stuff's around, right?
We had one day 2 weeks ago now, we were coming back from rock fishing and it started jumping, not like a big volume to it, but single fish here, single fish there. They're coming
pitching,
all the
right?
way out of the water.
Big fish?
Yeah. They were
100
those
plus?
100 plus, yeah. And I was flaying fish down on deck, and Chad was the captain that day. And he stopped the boat all of a sudden because he had them on the up and down. You know, they're not just on the surface. We got a wad of them down there. And we didn't get a reaction out of it, but we saw him on the surface. He got some on the meter. You know, that was a good sign. And then that trip that we had the Dorado last week, we had some fish up.
Oh, you did?
Same thing where it's, you know, it's real spread out. There's not any meat to it, but we're seeing single fish here and there jumping, and they were all that 100 plus stuff. It sounds like, from what I've been hearing, a lot of it's on the backside of Catalina or already off the west end.
Yes.
But there's still some fish inside of Catalina and down below in between there and San Clemente.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me to see it on the 14. And
exactly.
I don't know what conditions are like there. Were they good?
Yeah, I mean, first thing in the morning was grease flat calm.
Yeah.
Current was just enough to get the bait away from the boat. You know, we weren't drifting too fast. Later towards the afternoon, it definitely wasn't too windy, but it picked up to where you were drifting.
Yeah.
You know, there was no doubt about it. If you dropped your bait on the wrong side of the boat, it was going right under the boat right away.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes if you don't have that much wind, you can get a cast on the wrong side and it'll scurry.
Right.
But
And get a bite.
We were drifting quick enough by the afternoon that if you tried to fish on the off-wind side, your bait just shot right under the boat.
Yeah.
So you had to be, you know, knowing when in your face you're in the right place.
There you go. Abraham Mauricio, going fishing Saturday, small boat, Catalina, worthy. Where do you recommend locally for surface action? Here's a private boater picking your brain for some
Is he saying
knowledge.
It's a small boat worthy of making it to Catalina and he's trying to fish local, or is he trying to make it to Catalina to fish at Catalina?
I think both. Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe you could cover
we'll just
both.
cover
right?
both
Yeah.
in case.
Yeah, if you could.
Well, as far as Catalina goes, out of Dana Point, we primarily fish the east end. You know, we can get a little above Avalon on the front side, you know, but it's hard for us to get all the way around to the west end where, you know, the Native Sun and the Pursuit, they're all going around that other end.
That's a long drive for you guys.
Yeah, and when the fishing's good on that side, you'll see them coming around the front side, around the east end. We've definitely fished right next to them before, but there's so much, that island's so big, you've got so much to look at and so much, you know, water that could potentially be holding fish, that it's good to have them all around the island too. You know, we know what the Pursuit's getting over there. Maybe they were doing good a couple days and then they slowed down in their counts, but the guys on the east end got bit a little better a couple days later. You never know. But as far as my knowledge with Catalina, recently, what I can say, we had some around the V's that looked like there was some good surface action, some barracuda and bass boiling. Honestly, anywhere you go, you probably have a shot at yellowtail. Those things are moving. You know,
are they?
Yeah, they're moving around the island. I don't think they're hunkered down too much.
Yeah.
Some of the real popular spots, if you could find a real, you know, thick kelp forest, you might find some of those more home guard styles.
What's the grade in general? What size?
We've been seeing anything, I mean, majority of what we're seeing boil around has been that 12 to 20 pound stuff. Last 5 to 5 trip we went over there, we had about a 18 pounder that we landed. And we know in the last couple years we've caught some 30, 40 pounders at Catalina.
Yeah,
so
there's some big fish.
We just haven't seen a lot of it because we haven't tried a lot. Same with the offshore. Each of our boats in our fleets maybe only been to the island a couple times so far this summer.
Right.
So we're still kind of getting into the swing of checking out the island, going offshore.
Rick Slater says, come on, Albies, and an awesome trip for you. You have a heart of oro. Nice Spanish there, Rick. Heart of gold, right? Thank you, amigo. Tony Gonzalez. Phil, anything new from Daiwa at ICAST? Tony, let me tell you, I could go on and on and on for hours tonight, Mauricio. I could go on and on. But you know what? This is a good opportunity to talk to my friend Greg Johnson over there at Daiwa and get him in here because he'll do a far better job. And I'm trying to stall for time because I really don't. No, yeah, of course they do, but I'm not up on it. So, hey, I'm going to reach out to Daiwa and see if we can't get them to come down here and do a show. Next week, we have Brian Wynn and Moon Wynn. They're going to be on the show, and they're awesome. Their knowledge about fishing and everything else is so great. But maybe the week after, I'll get Greg Johnson from Daiwa to come in and fill you in on that, just for you, because you asked, Tony. 540, or DJB. I ditched the fly line chaos this weekend, headed to the bow throwing 7X Junior by myself, thinking of Jeff. Yeah, there's something about going to the bow, Mauricio, and throwing an iron. You're kind of up there by yourself. And I love fishing the bow. Do you ever?
Yeah.
It's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, and you'll hear it, even if it's not at the island for yellowtail, you'll hear the real good tuna fishermen when you're on a plunker bite.
Yeah.
Everyone's fishing with the wind in their face, so that off-wind side usually doesn't have too many passengers on it. They're pinning a bait on and running up that off-wind side to the bow and pitching their bait off the bow. The same thing at the island. Depending on the current, there's been plenty of times where wind and current are opposing each other. So you're sitting a little goofy on anchor and the baits are wanting to rush off the bow. Even if you cast them off the stern, the current's swinging them towards the bow.
Yeah, right.
You pin that bait on and try to make your way to the bow and pitch it out off the bow while it's still fresh and hot and swimming, rather than after it's swam, you cast it out off the stern 20, 30 feet and then it made its way across the stern. Now it's going up to the bow 60 feet. And now it's off your bow 80 feet. That thing's been swimming around fighting the current for a while now.
100%.
If you run up to the bow and pitch that bait off, and now it's looking natural with the chum up there that's getting pushed to the bow.
Yeah, right. And fish are boiling up there, and you're like, shh.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
So you just, once again, practice being aware of your surroundings and the conditions. And a newer angler might not be able to figure that out for themselves, but someone who's practiced and been on the water a lot will probably be able to tell what the current's doing after their first couple casts. All right, the current's going that way. Maybe I want to position a little differently.
Right.
Or cast somewhere else or add more weight. Maybe take weight off.
And that's why it's nice to be on a boat like you guys, because, you can kind of like, hey, this current, can you help me understand what's going on here? You guys will be teachers at that point, which is great.
And on a lot of boats, the crew will be hooting and hollering tips, take your sinkers off or add a little weight. They can't force you to switch your outfit. You're going to fish what you want, but they're telling you what to do to help you catch fish. So if you're listening and they say, take your sinkers off or add more, whatever the case might be, walk up and ask, hey, what do you mean by that? Or, hey, can you help me?
Right.
Hey, let's switch up my rig. How would you have it rigged up?
Right.
Just walk up and ask.
Right. 100%. That's great stuff. All right, hey, a lot of these guys, Kai Fish Killer, awesome DJ. It's when you feel that tug of current of the jig. 540 Slinger, glad to hear that. There's nothing like a successful day throwing surface iron. Steve Bermudez, my tip of the season, chains those hooks to heavy duties on the jig. Steve was on the Malahini, pinned a big old bluefin, and came back with a straight hook on I think it was a 6X Junior. And so I know why he's saying that, man. He was another casualty on that trip. They were big, man. I saw some fish coming out of the water that were over $150. So pretty bitching. But yeah, you need not only does your rod and reel have to be up to par, but the hooks on your jigs,
split rings.
Yeah, right. All that stuff, because these are really sizable fish.
Yeah, we're talking 100, 150 plus. If you're going out there looking for 100-pound fish, I think those treble hooks after a 70-pound fish, you're starting to chance it. If you're hooking 70-pound fish, those treble hooks are, you're giving the fish a little too much leeway there.
Yeah, you're giving too big of an advantage,
yes,
right?
Exactly. Too big of an advantage.
Have you ever done any slow pitching? Are you into that at all?
Yeah, yeah. I don't have any of the slow pitch gear myself, but I've gone on a few trips where we were slow pitch fishing for the rockfish.
Yeah, it's fun,
and
isn't
for
it?
the tuna, very similar style.
Have you caught a tuna on slow pitch?
The tuna I've only ever done on the Colt Snipers. I haven't used like the legitimate slow pitch outfits for tuna.
Right.
But it's the same style when I'm fishing tuna, just like you would yellowtail. I'm yo-yoing that Colt Sniper, that flat fall. Yeah. Like a yo-yo jig, straight up and down as you can keep it. You don't want it to scope out too much. And tuna, maybe you don't need to wind it in as fast as you can. But the yellowtail, usually you're cranking as fast as you can, whether it's a 6X Junior or a Colt Sniper or a Mega Bait or whatever the case might be. Those heavy metal jigs that are made to sink. You want to get them down to the zone, keeping them straight up and down.
100%. Absolutely. Fish the zone. Phil, love the show. Keep up the good work. See you on the pond, my fishing brother. Thank you so much. You know why it's a great show? Because you're here.
Thank you.
I mean that 100%. You're awesome. Rick Slater, I have followed you for years. What is the best beard dye? You look great, kid. What is, I don't know what I use. What is it called? Just for Men, I think I use.
Okay.
Yeah, do you like that?
Yeah.
I'm not fooling anybody. I mean, come on. I was in China, and one of my favorite students, a girl named Julia, she was like 19, and she goes, Philip, you should, because I told her I dye my beard. She goes, you should let your beard go gray because you look like a professor. So smart. So, yeah, like me smart. I don't think that's going to do it. I grew my beard gray, and I go, oh my God, I look like I'm 90 years old. So, yeah, whatever it is, it's, I forget. I should get a contract with them and start making some money on that. Slam and Sammy, when you bump into those bluefin on the way back home, what setup is recommended? Flat falls, knife jigs, or heavy fly line?
So,
And do you recommend, I mean, this is a hard thing for you. I'm going to tell you. You can't recommend that everybody come down there with a 2-speed reel, but at some point in time, there's going to be a day this year where I bet you're going to need it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're going to bump into that stuff.
Right.
And so, yeah, what do you tell people?
I mean, if you have the right gear, bring it. Just because it's a...
That's what I say.
Yeah, just because it's a 3/4 day. We had a guy today, he got on the boat and said, well, I got 4 good setups that I usually bring out, but I only brought 2 today. What'd you do that for? You could have had a jig on one, a fly line on the other, a sinker rig on the other one in case we did run into tuna, and maybe I'm crazy for that, and everyone, all of my coworkers and my dad and my uncle, anytime we go fishing, they're laughing at me because I got the most rods out of anyone on the boat.
I know, but you got all bases covered, right?
Exactly.
And there's no time lapse. I mean, you can go to your 12-pound if you're fishing bass and they're finicky and you want to fish that. You can jump up to your 25 if you see a yellow boil.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. So there's, a right rod for everything. You're not going to take your 10-foot surface iron rod and go put your sinker rig on that. So it's just depending on what kind of fishing you're doing and what you plan on targeting while you're out there. That's the cool part about the island, and I think why I love the island so much. When you're tuna fishing, you could maybe run into some Dorado or some yellowtail while you're out there, but you're tuna fishing, you're driving, you're looking.
One species.
Yeah,
Right.
with that same type of your fly lining, now we can switch it up and do some yo-yo irons, flat falls. The sinker rig's been getting bit pretty good, which, believe it or not, I've had success on that. When we have those sinker rigs rigged up for tuna,
Yeah.
and we're tuna fishing and we see a kelp patty, we'll tell people try the sinker rig on the kelp patty, and we've hooked yellowtail on the sinker rig with a live bait by bringing the baits down a little deeper under the kelp. There's plenty of times where the fish are, not jumping or boiling or chasing on the surface. They're just hanging out 70 feet, 100 feet away from the patty, down deep, doing circles, waiting for something to eat. So I try to have a little something.
You got to be prepared, right?
Yeah, you don't know what's going to happen.
Absolutely. Jason Allen, I haven't seen him for a long time. He's up in Alaska. I don't know if he's in Alaska or Seattle now, but Jason, buddy, it is great to see you. Thanks for all your help. He sent me $100 last year for Mexico. Okay. And so he's a very generous guy. It was great,
That's awesome, yeah.
All good stuff. J.C. Lopez, 26, thanks for having this kid on. Are you kidding? This guy's making the show tonight. He's awesome. He's a great kid with a great heart. I can see that. Wish I can fish with him more often, but Vegas is too far. Maybe I have to have him come to Vegas and show him how to fish like me. That sounds good. Who is that? Your Tio?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's my uncle. So
yeah.
He's even tried a couple times doing some ice fishing in the wintertime.
Really?
Yeah. He says that they can, I'm not sure where he goes for that, but he says that he's tried some of that too. He probably has to make a little bit of a drive, but yeah, he's been honing in that freshwater, fishery up there. And he's bragging, he's showing off. We got to go up there and get in on some of the
Well, shoot, I'm
action.
going to start covering freshwater here pretty soon, so I'm going to turn to him to get the Lake Mead report, right?
Okay.
Who better?
Right.
And hey, I'm not fooling around here. This guy is just an awesome kid. I saw that from when I met you that day, and I hate to blow too much smoke in your direction, but it's all heartfelt. It's true.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't do that. Ask these guys. I don't do that all the time. So, Rocket Dog, preach 4 rigs each. Oh, yeah. I think he means bring 4 rigs, you know?
Yeah.
Rocket Dog is saying, come prepared, bring all your stuff, and I think he's right. Tim P., do you ever see guys with larger spinning reels catch large tuna? Yeah. But do you? I mean,
I haven't at Dana
Daiwa
Wharf.
puts out some great stuff.
Yes.
Wink, wink, my sponsor. No.
They
do.
They really do. They've got some of the nicer spinning outfits you could get as far as the stuff with the high drag and
40 pounds of drag, which you're getting pulled over with 40 pounds of drag, right?
Right. Yeah. But you're not, what pound test are you going to put on that reel? You're never going to get to the 40. You're never going to need it, but it's nice to know you got it if you ever did.
Yeah, right.
And then the
the
torque
problem
when you turn
with
the handle.
The problem is you can't railrod a tuna on a spinning reel,
Right.
right? That's part of the problem.
Yeah, but no, the advancements in technology, if you're not gonna have to use the rail, if you can stand up and fight that fish without bringing the rod to the rail, those spinning reels will do it, no problem. I've seen those popper fishermen when they first started biting the popper, and everyone that struggled because they weren't practicing enough with their conventional reels was trying to do it on spinners, And
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's why everyone decided we better come out with some spinners that can handle some 200-pound tuna.
Right, and there's a ton of people watching this show tonight. Thank you. That stigma of fishing with a spinning reel, laughing at the guy because he's got a spinning reel. Hopefully that can get pushed aside at some point in time because, man, I'll tell you, spinning reels, when you're fishing a popper, that's the way you got to fish a spinning reel.
Yeah.
I fish a surf all the time. I fish a spinning reel. And, man, I'll tell you, you're fishing an anchovy and you need to get that bait a distance. With a spinning reel,
it's going to be easier than...
It's going to be easy.
Even for me.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
And you can take virtually a novice angler and they can be casting fairly well on one trip with a spinning.
Definitely.
Right? Not with a conventional.
No.
No.
That takes, like I said, you're in the front yard, practicing every chance you get with a conventional.
Right.
It takes time, going to the lake or the park or the lagoon or the harbor, wherever you can get away with having enough room to, not snag anything in your cast on the, backside of you. And then once you cast it, you got to have 100 feet or more, depending on how well you cast. As you practice, you start getting farther. You got to find a space where you can cast farther.
Right, go to the park like we did the other day.
Exactly.
Yeah. What's your favorite kind of fishing? What do you like?
Well,
not as a captain, as an angler. What do you like to do? Is it freshwater? Is it saltwater? What is it?
I'd have
you like
to
freshwater
say
bass fishing or something?
I do.
Yeah.
I did a lot of that growing up too, just because we didn't live too close to the ocean.
Yeah.
But
you grew up where?
In Duarte.
Okay.
So it was a little over an hour and a half for us to, so we did more freshwater than saltwater, that was for sure. But San Clemente and Catalina, and we almost got to it earlier, but we steered off to the tuna fishing. When you're tuna fishing, you've only got the one sort of, okay, we're going to fly line for this. And that's what we're doing. You go to the island and you can choose, do I want to, depending on what shows, once again with conditions, the fish decide when it's game time, but you get to the island and you see yellowtail and bass and bonita boiling, you could still drop to the bottom of the dropper loop and catch sheephead, halibut, whitefish.
That variety.
All that good eating stuff.
Yeah.
So that's what I like. You're seeing different species on different rigs fly over the rail, and I bring 8 rods, so I want 8 different things tied up. I can go drop my dropper loop down, catch a sheephead, and then go cast my fly line out, catch a bass.
Calico. Yeah, exactly. I love it. Alex, our awesome show, Phil and Mauricio. After 9 years of sport fishing, we finally got our own 26 striper. How far offshore should we go before looking for kelp patties? So, where are you fishing out of, Alec? That makes a difference.
Right.
But what's the answer to that question?
Every year is different.
Right.
It's all up to conditions once again. Where's that clean water? Where's that warm water? There's been years where we've found Just these last 2 years, our half days were anchored up fishing bass, or it happened while we're anchored up fishing rockfish. You're not very deep. We're not looking for tuna, and the tuna found us while we were bass fishing.
That's
and they
crazy.
started boiling around the boat.
The bluefin?
Yeah,
That's
the
wild.
last 2 years, it was really, really weird. I think it had started by June last year. We were seeing it, we were rock fishing, 300 feet of water, and, you're looking at the beach on one side and looking out at Catalina on the other, and all of a sudden, tuna are boiling around you.
How lucky, how blessed do you feel, man? It's crazy, right?
So every year is different. There's years where we've seen Dorado 4 miles off the beach, and then there's, even in that same year, just because you saw them there 1 week, they could be 14 miles off the beach next week. It's always changing.
Jason Allen, awesome podcast, Phil. My data reception isn't that good, but I'm in Bristol Bay, Alaska. Can you believe? We got people in Alaska watching the show.
That's awesome.
Finishing up the biggest sockeye salmon season yet, working with Fisherman Services. Great to hear that. Great to hear you had such great fishing. Jason, it's always good to hear from you. Man, I mean, we got people in Ensenada. We got people in Taiwan. We got people all over the place listening. Thank you, Mauricio. It's a great show. Tons of people are watching.
Thank you for having me.
Kai Fish Killer used to cast on the street, hooked a fee, maybe a tree, huh? I'm not sure. Oh, a few cars. That's funny stuff, man. Way to go. Robert Alexander. You know him?
Yes, that's my father-in-law, Savannah's dad.
Proud of you, Mauricio. Best kid, and it has been an honor watching you become a captain the last 7 years. You got a bunch of people cheering you on, huh?
Thank you, everyone. I do, yeah. Everyone's been super excited.
Not that, it's the Mexican family that it's only that way, but the Mexican family is real tight.
Yeah.
And all pulling for one another, and it's great, man. I mean, I think, and whether you're Mexican or not, when you get into that, I'm a gringo, but I think like that because,
And he spent a lot of his time fishing down in Baja.
Yeah, so it's contagious.
Yeah, it really is.
Like the thought of it never crossed my mind to put my dad in a home. I'm married to a girl from Costa Rica. It never crossed her mind. And I knew I could rely on her, so we moved my dad in the house with us, and that's where he spent his final 8 years with us, with Ruth and I doing his diabetes stuff and taking care of him. And you don't see people getting shoved into homes like that in Mexico. You just don't,
Right.
So it's great. I mean, you just got this solid backing. I love it. It's just really great.
Even on my white side, my mom's side of the family that's not Hispanic, my grandpa talks about that all the time, joking but not joking.
Yeah.
Oh boy, when I get up there that old, who's going to take care of me? You're not going to put me in some home, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's what family's for. I took care of you for 20 years. And
Exactly.
You better be there to take care of me for my last 5.
Unfortunately, I'm from a gringo family, so I'm probably going to get pushed off into some home. I'm only kidding.
No.
Gary Kwan, Tatty Lures. Gary is a gentleman. Do you know Gary? You got to meet him someday, Mauricio. He's a great guy. He's from Tatty Lures.
If he's from Tatty, I might.
You
have,
probably,
if I saw his face.
I'll bet.
Maybe.
Yeah. And he was at that park thing that we did with 100 people, and he was out there just helping people right and left. Anybody criticizing spinning reels needs to go to Cape Cod and watch those anglers handle 200-pound bluefin on those spinning reels. There's your answer right there, right? Yeah, I mean, spinning reels are great. And again, I have a couple, I work at the OC Fair as a bartender. There's a couple girls there and their little brother, Andrea, Yadira, and Luis is a 15-year-old kid. Okay. So we're going to take them fishing. Now, the worst thing I could do to them is, here's a conventional reel, good luck. But if I hand them a spinning reel and give them a few lessons, they're in the game right away. So it is, you're so right, Gary, no question about it. Kai Fish Killer, laughing out loud, bring a rod per line class. Tim P, is it good when the pinhead catches and keeps a white sea bass when I didn't get one? So he's asking a question. A pinhead could arguably be seen as a crew member in a way.
Yeah, definitely.
So if that happens and the kid puts it in his sack, do you feel like, is that something that would happen at Dana Wharf Sportfishing? Or is that a no-no or what?
If
there's a fine line here. I know what you're thinking.
Another thing about that whole catch and release. What's really cool is, we don't fish very often, and when we do, if our cook comes out to the galley and pitches a bait out, we're typically trying to hook in hand if we hook one, and we're releasing them. It's not, whether it's a keeper or not. A lot of the fish we do catch, it's like, oh, well, they're here, and then you release it.
Yeah, right.
Now it's your guys' turn. They're biting. They want to bite. Let's try to catch them. We're not gonna go throw it in the bag. We'll throw it back and leave it for someone else to try to catch more often.
Yeah,
than not.
right.
Same with our younger pinheads. We do have a couple younger kids that'll come help out on the weekends when school's in session, and then when school's out, they'll come out, during the week for 2 or 3 days, and then if they come out for a twilight to try to fish for a little bit or something,
They should, yeah. I mean, I'm going back to my pinhead days, Tim, and so the bargain I had, not that I would enforce the bargain, but the bargain I had with the guys on the boat, the Redondo Special in this case, when I first started, was I get to come out and go fishing as a kid. I get to keep my fish, and I'll scrub the boat and do everything at night. You guys go home, because I get to be the big shot down on the boat anyway, and that was cool. Everybody's gone, and I'd have been heartbroken if I caught a legal halibut and they said, give me that, I'm giving it to. So I understand. I don't know what the answer is to that. It's a hard one, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and going back to we want to practice catch and release. Usually that's what we end up doing with it. No one keeps it. We're releasing.
There you go.
Especially if it's a calico.
Then I really would have been heartbroken. Oh, my legal halibut's going back. How could you do that, Mauricio? Javier Lopez, what boat do you run out of Dana Point?
The Clemente.
And how do we get booked on the Clemente? How do we get, do we call the landing? Can you book online?
You could call in. The numbers online if you want to look it up and give them a call, but they definitely prefer if you try to make your reservations online.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone does now.
Yeah, pretty much.
But Dana Wharf Sportfishing and whalewatching.com.
Is that the website, Dana Wharf Sportfishing and Whale Watching?
I think if you just,
or you just
type
Google
in,
that.
Yeah, if you just type in the Dana Wharf Sportfishing, it'll take you there. But I think the full name of it all is Dana Wharf Sportfishing and Whale Watching.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's a sauna in here tonight?
It's
Will
pretty
you
warm.
open that door? I'm burning up in here. What's wrong with you tonight? What are you playing with on your phone? Alex, the intern. I'm glad you got to meet him. All right, let's see. Kai Fish Killer is screwing with Tim. Yes, Tim, it's good for the pinhead to outfish your butt. He didn't quite put it that way, but I exaggerated a little bit. Javier Lopez. Oh, we already got that. Rocket Dog. This was a great show. We're not finished, Rocket Dog, and worked out great on my run. Oh, he's out running, getting some exercise. Mauricio replying the SGV. Now I'm going to have trek down to the landing and jump on a boat before the season ends. Sounds like he's going to go fishing with you really, really soon.
Hopefully,
yeah. Tim says, I see your point, Friedman. Yeah, Tim, I'm not sure, because you're a paying passenger. So I get that, I do. But, when you're a pinhead, it's like you're still in that dream world of, and you're not making any money for the most part. I don't know if you. So, yeah, I mean, that's a hard one. I appreciate the fact that you say that. DJB, Phil, you work the fair? Where can I find you at? You can find me at Baja Blues, and I work evenings. So I either start at 3 or start at 5. Find me there at the Corner Bar, it's called, and I'll pour you a drink. And look forward to doing that. Do you go to the fair?
I haven't.
Have you ever gone to it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I haven't in a while. Like I said, since I used to live up in Duarte, and then we moved down to San Diego after a while. But when we lived in Duarte, we'd go visit the fair quite a bit. And then once we moved down, before we moved to San Diego, we lived in the high desert for a little bit.
Yeah.
So we were all alone up there. We didn't do much. But
you were far away from the saltwater fishing. Yeah. Going through withdrawals.
Seriously, then that's when we really did our lake fishing. I mean, there was a few little ponds we would hit up every day after school.
That's
every
awesome.
day, whether it was trout, bluegill, bass, it didn't matter.
That is awesome. Baja Blues for me. You can find me there, and I work with some really pretty girls, which if my wife actually watched this show, because they're a couple girls that I got my arm around, because we take a picture and say, come to the bar, and she'd kill me. But since she only speaks Spanish, She's not interested in fishing. She never watches us. So I think I might skate through without a divorce here tonight, but I'm not positive on that. All right, Savannah Lopez. I know her. Do you know her?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's the one who saved your butt tonight. Mauricio, do you recall when you realized you wanted to make a career out of your passion? Do you remember that epiphany? You were walking down the street and you had a road to Damascus conversion, perhaps. I'm getting a little carried away.
No, that's okay. There's probably two in particular that I can remember, and it goes back to that whole practicing the right way and learning. You know, trying to learn all the little things to make a big difference.
Yeah.
The first one's not necessarily learning too much about your technique in fishing. I was really young. I don't remember much of it, but I can remember clearly catching a sugar bass, one of the inshore rockfish species, a shallow water rockfish, and I had no clue what it was. And the deckhand, I'm pretty sure we were on the Monte Carlo, if my memory does serve me right.
Really?
Yeah. And
do you have any recollection? No, you don't remember the deckhand's name or the captain's name?
No, and I wish I did.
What year was that?
Man, I would say that's probably when I was like 5, 6 years old.
Oh, wow.
Almost 6 at the
time.
time.
Paul Strasser was on there around that time.
Yeah.
Who knows? But yeah, go ahead.
But he walked up to me and told me, how cool of a rockfish is this? You know, I'll give you $10 if you could tell me what the name is. And I sat there forever like, oh, I don't know what kind of a fish that is.
Oh my God.
That
was a cool thing of that guy to do, and you've never forgotten it.
Right. But just all day, the little back and forth that he was doing with me just to keep me, you know, hooked on it and keep me interested. And he helped the whole experience, not just by offering me the $10 for the rockfish, but helping me out throughout the day. He was just a really nice deckhand who was really helpful for a really young man, for a really young kid, I should say. I wasn't a young man, I was a kid.
Yeah, right, 5, 6 years old.
6 years old, and he was, you know, giving me all the attention I needed, helping me and my dad out to keep us, you know, out of tangles and hooking fish.
20 years ago. Over
Something
20 years
like
ago,
that,
and it stuck with you.
Yeah, and I thought...
Does that have anything to do with how you treat people now?
I think so. And then the second one I was going to say that I remember, it was actually on that tuna trip that I did on the Eclipse, and I do remember that deckhand's name, Billy. And he taught me a couple new knots. My dad taught me the San Diego Jam, which is pretty much the only knot I'd ever tied. And then Billy taught me the Uni. And that was like, wow, that's a really easy knot, you know, if you're trying to tie a knot quick. And he swore that it was going to be just as strong, if not stronger, than the San Diego. And sure enough, I went to those line testing machines.
Oh, right.
Started tying the different knots and testing them all out. And as far as me tying the knot, the Uni worked great. It's a much smaller knot than the San Diego Jam is, and it swivels on the eye of your hook a little easier. Not that that makes too big of a difference. I don't know. You know, some people think you need a ringed hook. Some people think you don't. I don't think you need the ringed hook. But when you have that knot kind of, even when you cinch tight, you're not getting it tight enough to, like, you know, bite down on the line. The mono doesn't bite into itself and grab the hook like with the San Diego Jam.
Yeah.
So I've done really well with both. And if I'm using a jig, I'm still tying the San Diego. But for the live bait, just because it is a much smaller knot, and I think it holds just as good, if not better, I use the Uni.
Yeah.
But little things like that. And not only that, I remember, because he was being so friendly, he was trying to give me a hard time in the process, you know.
That's great.
But in a friendly way.
Yeah, exactly.
So I thought, okay, I'll mess with him. And I walked up and I put one of my reels on backwards, you know, and this was my first time meeting him, and he's trying to teach me, so he doesn't know how much I do or don't know.
Right.
And I walked up with my reel on backwards, turning it upside down. I go, this is how I want to have it set up, though, right? You think you can help me with this one? And he's going, oh, brother.
Oh, my God, this is going to be a lot of work. Yeah. Hey, I was talking to somebody on the phone the other night, and he goes, how do you know Mauricio? I go, well, I just met him the other day. And he goes, yeah, I know him. And I go, where do you know him from? So I'll drop his name on you. Scott Buchert. Do you know Scott?
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
I talk to Scott 40 times a day. He calls me at least. I'm grateful that he's on the Ranger 85 because he's out to sea 2 days at a time. No, so he's not calling me 40 times a day. That's why.
Well,
but he calls me all the time. I mean, in China, I would like get the 39th phone call and I go, here, talk to this man in America. And then I could hear him saying, hello? Your teacher is a fool. He's telling these kids, he's a funny guy.
gosh.
But you know Scott?
Yeah.
I love Scott.
If you're watching or if you see this, thanks, and it's good
He
hearing
was so
from ya.
thrilled to hear that you were going to be on the show.
Yeah.
Of all the people that I could have dinner with when I'm in San Diego, and I was dead freaking tired. I had 1 hour sleep in 48 hours, going from the show to the Malahini. It's time to drive home, and I really should just gut it out and drive home. But no, I've got to make that phone call. Hey, Scott, I'll meet you down at Tony's for some Mexican food. Let's go. And he's like, oh, well, do you have any free T-shirts for me? No, he's always after it. Yeah, I do, actually. And he came over and we spent some. So I had a great time.
I'm sure he returns the favor.
He's a great. I love.
Every time he's come fishing when I'm working, he's got a bag full of different candies or
Yeah,
chips.
he's very generous that way.
Something that you wouldn't normally have on the boat for a boat snack.
Right, because you've been
different.
eating the same crap for
Right.
3 weeks,
He's
and
always
then
got- Yeah, he's got a baggie full of goodies for the deckhands, different types of candy or chips or something to snack
That is
on.
so funny. Have you worked with him or
We've
fished with
never
him or
worked
what?
together, but yeah, he fished a lot on the Oceanside 95 with Rick when I worked on it, and then I fished with him a couple times out of Dana Point, and a lot of the Dana Point guys know about him, and they'll swap stories, and it's such a tight-knit community. I think it's amazing how someone from San Diego all the way up to Oxnard, and on the radio the captain's talking, word spreads so quick. Everyone knows everyone in the industry.
Yeah,
It's pretty
absolutely. Yeah. Albert Ponce is a guy that, I was doing a live show just like this, and all of a sudden Albert Ponce is on there saying, I got a house in Rosarito, right next to the Rosarito Beach Hotel. Whenever you want the keys, they're yours. So I'm like, hey, this is great,
Right.
So I'm serving booze at the fair, and this guy is standing in front of me, and he's ordering a drink. It's Albert Ponce. And he said he was sitting over with his wife, Crystal, and he goes, am I hearing Phil Friedman's voice? Like he had no idea I was there. And then he came over. He's a delightful guy. He was on your trip. He had a bunch of little kids.
Okay.
Big guy, had his wife with him, Crystal. I think some of those photos are circling through here, so I'll point, but super great guy. And he was just down fishing with Blackfin Charters down there in Ensenada, and his wife, I think that might have been, is that one?
Yeah, that's on the Clemente.
Yeah,
That was
right.
a little
There he
sad.
is right there.
Okay, yeah.
You remember that guy?
Yeah.
Super great guy, Albert. And so now this friendship is like, and once I get through the show, I'm going to go down and spend some time with him in Rosarito and fish. But he was with Blackfin Charters. I should mention they had 3 nice tuna, did really well, and he said those people treated him so well. Albert says, yeah, go see Phil. He makes the drinks real good. Albert, that's our secret. Jolene Thompson was our guest last week here.
No way.
Oh, you didn't know that?
No.
She was a fabulous guest, even though
awesome.
the idiot host of the show didn't plug the microphone in for the first 3 minutes.
Uh-oh.
So we were talking, and then people are like, we can't hear you. So anyway, I got that under control. Hey, Mauricio, are there any bluefin within 20 miles of Dana? I'm assuming she's asking.
Well, I didn't, see too much sign of it today, or at least not that I was able to 100% say, oh, yep, that was tuna. We saw a lot of bigger boils. When we get a little closer to inspect them, it was mola on the surface.
Yeah.
I didn't see anything that I saw was for sure tuna today. But we have in the last couple weeks, and all of that we did see in the last couple weeks was all within 17 miles of, or shoot, even closer than that. It was all probably within 10 miles of the beach. We were on our way home from rock fishing.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
So I guess the better, not a better question, but a question would be, did you see the kind of condition that they would frolic in? You know what I mean? Did you see conditions that you wouldn't be surprised to see bluefin tuna in? Because they're moving around, they're moving up, and if you have good conditions, you got to assume at some point in time you're going to see those things.
These last 3 days, the current and wind has been doing some different stuff, and about 5 miles, 6 miles off the beach is like really green water.
Yeah.
It's the right temperature, and there's a lot of bait in it,
But it's green. Yeah.
You get out to that cleaner water, it's not as warm, but there's a lot of bait in it, and that's where you start seeing the fish. When that cleaner water was tighter to the coast, that's when we were seeing the tuna in it. But these last 3 days that, where we were seeing that bluefin on our way home from rock fishing is much greener water.
Excellent.
So I think if that water, once again, that warmer water that we were driving through today cleans up a bit like it was last week,
Then
we'll
it's
see
game
it
on.
again. Yeah.
Jolene, it's good to see you, by the way. She has another question. You're the best. It's so nice to everyone on the boat. I remember when you worked on the Oceanside 95, how was Rick an inspiration to you as a deckhand? See you soon on the Clemente with Jessica. So somebody,
awesome.
Rick, is she talking about Rick Slavkin?
Yeah.
Rick's a great guy.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Well, his knowledge on fishing, I mean, when he when he owned the Seahawk, he was a phenomenal sea bass fisherman. You know, if you wanted to catch sea bass, you'd charter with him. And when it comes to yellowtail at the island, rock fishing, you know, offshore for tuna, he knows what's up. There's a lot to learn from him.
And he's a hell of a nice guy.
Yeah.
Just a nice man.
In the engine room, you know, I learned so much about working in the engine room with him. You know, the knowledge he has on that. He can easily, with his words, explain how he wants you to do what and why.
Yeah.
You know, down in the engine room. All right, so do it this way, that way. This is what we're going to get done. Okay. You know, and with his simple instruction and me following, everything got done very well. And, you know, we worked very well together. The few things that I needed work on, he was very patient with me and, you know, would give me tips and tricks to work on it. You know, we'd buy a little Write in the Rain notebook so I could take my notes if he did give me a list of, you know, stuff we had to check. Go check the filters on this, that, or the other.
Yeah.
In the middle of trying to also, you know, look for fish in the nest or manage the bait tank and double check that the trollers aren't tangled or they don't have grass on them, you know, and the crew's all working together. Not one guy's doing all that, but, you know, you got to kind of make sure it's getting done when he's up in the wheelhouse with one eye on the fathometer and one eye on the sonar and, you know, another eye out the window.
There's a lot to pay attention to,
right.
Isn't there, as a captain?
Yeah, he was putting a lot of responsibility on me to make sure that, you know, the rest of the crew was doing everything that needed to get done.
Yeah.
So even if I wasn't the one personally doing it, I had to see to it that it got done, and that was a lot of experience and a lot to learn, and, you know, it helped out a lot. And I think that's kind of where it formed into this, I don't have to just be a deckhand, I could be a captain eventually, you know?
Right.
Because as a kid and up until I started working with Rick, I just thought, oh, how cool would it be to be a deckhand, you know? And then I started working with Rick, and it's like, well, you could be a captain.
Yeah, exactly. That's so good. One of my most memorable trips was with Rick on the Seahawk. We went fishing with the entire Los Angeles Laker team, including Kobe Bryant. I had a really tight relationship, still do, with the Los Angeles Lakers and the Laker girls. And we did a lot of charity stuff together. I fished with Brian Shaw, who played for them, and we're still very good friends. Brian made his first trip with his family, Nikki and his kids, BJ, and everybody. We went down to Mexico together and had a great time. But this time we went on board the Seahawk, and we ended up off the east end of Catalina catching yellowfin tuna. The guys caught a few. We didn't catch a lot, but it was just one of those memorable trips. It was during a time when Kobe Bryant was having some legal problems with an issue in Colorado. I don't know if you remember that, but there was an issue. I don't need to go into that, but he was pretty much down in the bunk room, and then, you know, we didn't see a lot of him on the trip. But all these other guys, Brian Grant, I became really good friends with him. This massive man, gentle guy, and he played up in Portland, and when he frickin' went to the hoop and slam dunked, you better just get out of there. But so anyway, this was back when I was drinking, before I discovered that, you know, finally go, hey, you know what, I think I'm an alcoholic, I better stop this. That was before this. So I don't know if I had tequila or who had it, but Brian Grant and I are like, you know, 8 in the morning, we're drinking tequila and we're high-fiving. Blue Whale comes up, we're like, oh my God, this is so bitchin'. And Eugenia Chow, I'm probably gonna get in trouble here, she was the woman that coordinated the whole thing. So she goes, Philip, are you drinking tequila with the players? And I'm like, well, yeah. And she goes, well, you know, and I go, well, they're freaking adults. You know, I'm not like, I didn't take Brian, like, start pouring it down his throat.
Right.
Until she's like, oh, you know, have fun. You know, so it was a memorable trip with the whole Kobe thing and Brian Grant and let's see, Luke Walton was there, a whole bunch of guys, a whole bunch of those guys. I had so many fun stories with the Lakers. We went out on another trip with the Lakers, and I remember Brian Shaw said, have you ever seen Patrick, my little boy? You ever seen him eat a sardine? He'll bite the head off a sardine. And he goes, no, he won't. And this was Samaki Walker, wasn't it? He won't do it. And he goes, if he does, you got to do it. He goes, yeah, sure, Patrick, no problem. And Samaki Walker did it and threw up. And it was so funny. And somebody filmed it. I don't know who it was, but it was played on the Jumbotron at Staples Center later on. It was great, man. It was so funny. Man. All right, Tim P., do you ever get tired of boat burgers and breakfast burritos? You probably don't eat those all the time. Do you bring your own stuff, or do you eat them all the time?
I don't eat them all the time, but ever since I was a kid, that was another one of those things. Even if the fishing wasn't good,
the burgers were great.
Boat burgers.
I know.
And even on the 95, I remember all the deckhands complaining, burgers again, and I never got tired of them.
Yeah, I know, right?
I didn't. I know everyone else did, but I never did, and I don't eat them too often now on the boat. But
you're in good shape, so you're not.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm trying. I could lose a little, but
me too. All of us could. But so yeah, burgers are good, and you never got tired of it. You're only 26. When you're 36, you might have them coming out of your ears at that point. Kai Fish Killer, Rick is awesome. Caught my first yellowtail on the yo-yo in 700 feet of water.
What?
Wow, that is something else. A yellowtail zooming around out there. Aaron Bracamontes. I remember a trip on the Seahawk 95 and killed a ton of yellowtail and albacore. Also free gaffed a mako on the same trip. Aaron, that is such a great memory, right? Albacore, yellowtail, free gaff a mako. I love it, man. That's an awesome thing to share with all of us. Kai Fish Killer, this is awesome. Fishing with the Lakers, my favorite team. Yeah, I feel very blessed about that.
That would be
speaking of this beard dye, I was at Palmas de Cortez, and Brian Shaw was there, and my wife was there, my kids were there, and his kids were there. And so I was watching a football game or something, I put beard dye on. And I'm watching, and I'm going, oh, shoot, man, they need this field goals thing. It was Notre Dame or something. I'm a big Notre Dame guy. And so it's like 15 minutes go by, and I go, oh, no. And so it was so jet black. I looked like a complete idiot. So I went to dinner. I'm just sitting there. Everybody's like, what the hell? So funny. Brian's a great guy, by the way. Brian Shaw, I love him. And his wife, Nikki's a chef, and she's a lot of fun. We had so much fun on that trip to Palmas de Cortez because it was their first trip to Mexico. So, how magical that was.
Oh, yeah.
That was you want another booze story real quick? So there was a big fight with Kobe and Shaq back in the day. And this had just gone down. And B. Shaw actually broke it up. So we were in Playa del Carmen near Cancun, and we're shooting a TV show. And so I was BSing with Brian. He goes, hey, do you want the real story? We're drinking tequila. It's like midnight. Just me, him, and his wife, Nikki. You want the real story on the Shaq Kobe thing, which I am not going to say anything about because it was a private conversation. I go, are you kidding?
Right.
Yeah. So we went on till 3 o'clock in the morning. Anyway, I show up for the TV shoot at 6 in the morning. Brian's not there. And then, so the producer of the thing, the same thing again. Hey, I hear you were drinking with Brian Shaw. And I'm like, yeah, once again, he's an adult.
Right.
So I got blamed for that, too. They were pissed. He finally showed up at 7:30 or something like that. A little hungover, but I've had a lot of good times with a lot of the Laker guys, that's for sure. Kai Fish Killer, yeah. That trip with Rick, the yellowtail were suspended at San Clemente Island in about 120 to 180 feet in 700 feet of water. That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that happens, I guess. Have you ever seen that?
We've seen them rock fishing.
Yeah, right.
To the bottom in 400 feet of water. So why can't they cruise around in 200 feet of water, when it's only 700 feet deep, if that's where the food's at?
Have you ever caught them on a ganyan?
No, I can't say I have, but I've seen it done.
I don't think I have. Have you?
Yeah, that old, when you work on a boat, you never tell anyone that'll never work, don't use that.
Yeah, I know, exactly. And you know what happens.
The steel ganyan with the two arms, steel arms coming off of it that you could put a hook, and they had a Rapala on one and a hook on the other. And that was the only
30-pound yellowtail.
The only yellowtail on the boat was on that steel gannion with a Rapala and a squid strip.
That's so funny. That seems to happen with sea bass fishing a lot. Like, that's not going to work. I had a guy from Bass Pro come out to surf fish with me, and he had a freaking crocodile that was like this. And I go, hey, I don't think that's really going to work. You might want to, bump it down to this 3/4. He freaking catches this giant spotfish croaker, which I think he snagged, but in his head it was like, well, I'm like, you tell a guy it's not going to work, and inevitably, boom, lightning strikes and they catch them. And that's great. I think it's great. Dino's a great guy. I hope he gets a chance to fish with you, Mauricio, because you would love him. Good evening, guys. Great show tonight. Been fishing sport boats for 40 plus years. I never get tired of a boat burger. Yeah, I know. And Dino was on the Malahini trip with us where we didn't catch anything. And he's another guy, sent me a note. Had a great time, awesome trip. Because, guys that have been in the fishing game long enough realize that happens once in a while.
Yeah.
And believe me, I was up in the wheelhouse with Bill, and they were burning their eyes out, and it's hard on them. On the way in, Bill, I don't know if he'd want me to say this, but he was looking at me going, I hate this, man. I really, really hate this. I'm so, down about it. Don't worry about it. I watched how hard you worked. You put us in a good position. But he took it hard, and I imagine, do you ever feel that way, or do you have?
Yeah, I think especially as I don't know if it's maybe helping me because I'm a newer captain, though.
Yeah.
Even if the fish don't bite, as I'm positioning the boat on spots, especially when it comes to dropping anchor. You got to read what the current's doing, what's the wind doing, how fast is it going, how are we going to lay in position, where do I want to be positioned on the rock so that the current drags our baits to the fish.
Yeah.
And your chum's got to get dragged back to the right spot. Then hopefully those fish will follow that chum line that's in the current to the boat and start eating the baits that have hooks in them. And so even when the fish don't bite that day, yeah, it's really tough, and you're being hard on yourself. But if you were trying, like you said, I know I'm positioning the boat properly. I know I've got the boat on the spot. I know we're marking them. The fish finder tells me if they're there. It doesn't tell me if they're hungry.
That's right.
So I'm my hardest critic. No matter what those passengers are doing or thinking, I'm sitting there in the wheelhouse second guessing everything, thinking, am I putting them on fish? Am I giving them the best shot?
That's all you can do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I'm trying hard like that, we didn't catch fish, and I know we were on the spot, we were chumming right, hey, that's fishing.
Absolutely, 100%. As an alcoholic, we have something called the Serenity Prayer, and basically what it says is, you got to realize when you don't have control over something to just let it go. I mean, there's certain things you don't have control over, and you can stress out, and you can drink of half a bottle of booze, and it's still going to turn out that way. The things that you have control over, you work hard to change. You're a good person. You're an ethical person. The things that you can't control, like what Biden does or what Trump does, or you can't control that.
Right.
So there's no use pulling your hair out. You'll end up like this. That's very disrespectful of Alex.
What were you thinking?
I'm going to get you, Alex. Hey, Tim P wants to know, what is the worst weather you've been out fishing in recently? Man, I got some weather stories, but they go a long way back. But it's been windy this year, hasn't it?
It has been. We did some twilights that I was real close to thinking, this is a bit too rough.
Throw the towel in.
Yeah. But we had another twilight boat out there we were working with, so we were struggling together, jumping around spots. Okay, yeah, we got a good bite going over here despite the current, and that's really what it is. When it's real windy, it can make it tough, but what's the current doing? If it's real strong wind and the current's going against it, you're going to be swinging crazy. Your baits are going to go every which way.
Yeah.
And if you can get the boat positioned right in the wind and the current's not too crazy, the wind might try to, put a loop of slack in your line up out of the water, but you should still be able to present the bait to the fish properly.
Yeah, right.
Now the ocean, the conditions on the surface, the sea surface conditions, whether it's got a big swell to it, that's a whole nother factor. If you've got all that wind and then you're adding some swell to it,
it's a mess.
It's going to be a wet boat ride.
Yeah, exactly.
Waves splashing up over the bow. If it hits the side of the boat right, it'll shoot the white
Oh
water
my God.
up over the wheelhouse.
I remember I was running a 35-foot commercial boat out of Redondo. It's called the Thunderfish. And we ended up on a bank. Have you ever heard of the 7090 bank? It's way out past Cherry Bank. And there was albacore. Okay, it was out there. There was albacore on it. So we ended up out there. And the weather forecast wasn't that bad. When we got out there, it was blowing 30. It was like, and guys were coming up on the radio because I knew all, the tornado, and they go, "What are you doing out here?" And I'm like, starting to wonder that myself. We freaking literally slid down a swell sideways.
Oh my God.
And how we didn't, do the freaking perfect storm thing almost. And that was it, man. It was like, we're freaking pointing this thing to San Clemente Island. We're out of here, man.
Right.
And we had a following sea at that point, so we were okay going to, oh my God, that was brutal weather. We almost bit the big one that day. Ruben Lopez says, great show. Phil, Mauricio, what size line do I need for a normal 3/4 day trip? Sorry I'm late. Ruben, we'll forgive you, right? Will you forgive Ruben?
No, he's not late.
He's the guy that was late.
We got time to answer the question still, right?
100%. By the way, how long do you think we've been talking, you and I together, right now? If you had to take a guess, what would you say? Don't look at a clock or anything.
I was trying to look at the daylight outside.
Don't do that. Just take a guess real quick.
Hour?
Yeah, 2 hours.
Really?
Ruben Lopez, go ahead. Yeah, time flies.
Oh
hey,
my gosh.
when you're having fun. You're
Thank
an
you.
awesome guest, man. What should he bring on a 3/4 day trip?
When we're once again, you're not sure what's gonna happen. If they're advertising that it's gonna be an offshore 3/4 day, you can maybe leave some of that bass gear behind. Start off with a 20 or 25 pound outfit. Then that one would probably be for fly lining. Then you have a 30 pound outfit that you could do fly line or a jig. And then your 40 pound outfit that would be fly line or a jig as well, depending what you did with that 30 pound. And then if it's offshore for those big tuna, you want to have 60 and 80 pound ready for those guys. Last tuna trip I went on my day off, they were eating the 80 pound no problem.
Yeah. So variety of tackle, because you never know what you're going to bump into, as evidenced by all the Dorado you saw today.
Yeah, but if it's a 3/4 day, it's bass fishing, because depending where you go, some 3/4 days are totally advertised as offshore. They'll go look.
Yeah, right.
But if it's not advertised as offshore and they're going to be doing more of that inshore fishery, bring your 8 or 10 pound outfit, 12 pound, 20, and maybe another 30. And maybe you're bringing 2 20s or 2 12s, so that way you could have a bait on a 12 and maybe a swim bait with a little 1/4 ounce or 3/8 ounce sled head. One of the things that works really well for our local fishery when we are targeting the bass, like I said, you don't always get that little anchovy, but those bass love to eat anchovy. And when we do get that anchovy, we'll get a few days of stellar fishing, and then we go back to that real big sardine, and you'll get them fired up to want to eat the sardine. But once again, it takes a little bit of practice. You got to make sure your sardine's swimming right. When you get a bite, you can't be excited and set the hook right away. You got to give them, some time to finish eating that sardine so the hook's in their mouth when you set the hook.
Practice.
Exactly. So you get a 1/4 ounce or 3/8 ounce lead head and pin on a little swim bait that looks just like an anchovy. And those are getting plenty of bass. You get 15, 20 bass in the day, and maybe 2 or 3 of them were keepers on that little swim bait.
Absolutely.
That's been working really good the past few days too. So
perfect. Hey, Mauricio is going to break into tears if we don't get up to 100 likes. So please, 41 likes. Come on, give Mauricio a like tonight. He's an awesome guest. Watch those likes start going up now. Watch. See, it's 41, and it's still 41. Will somebody make it 42, please? Oh my God, I'm going to kill you. Your wife is awesome. There's 42. Your wife is awesome. So the serenity prayer is what I was making reference to. Here it is. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Best prayer to live by, 100% Savannah. It is. Because you get to those things that like, God, my whole life is coming on. Well, I really can't control that. What I can control is I can work hard. I can be a decent human being. I can put one foot in front of the other today, and
do your
the
best.
rest is,
As long as you're making a conscious effort to try and do the right thing.
Absolutely. Tustin, Mom, we have faith in you, Mauricio. You have had fabulous mentors. Deb and Paul. That's Deb and Paul again. You know them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are they? What's their relationship to you? Just friends?
From fishing on the boats.
Oh, great. Yeah, all these friends you make. And then we got the old school 250. I've heard of a term of this being a La Nina year. What's the difference between La Nina and El Nino as it relates to fishing conditions? Thanks. You want me to take, or you want to take that?
If you want to,
I'll start and then you finish. So
Yeah,
La
yeah.
Nina just most of the time suggests cooler water, colder water. Not cold like you have in the Arctic, but cooler water. So
Than
those
average.
than average, yeah. So you're going to have species like albacore, yeah, right, albacore, and you're going to have barracuda, and you're going to have more anchovy, and you're going to have that. El Nino year is a warm water kind of a thing, where you get subtropical fish like yellowfin tuna and dorado and all this. Sometimes even in a La Nina year, you can have that warmer water that pushes up, like we're getting right now. Warm water on the inside and outside. There's still good algae water out there. I haven't given up on this yet, Mauricio.
Right.
There's still good algae, but just basically La Nina cool, El Nino warmer, right?
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to correct the teacher.
No, that's it right there. And there's a whole bunch of debates on whether it has been an El Nino or a La Nina over the last 10 years, like when those wahoo came through and we were seeing 75, 78 degree water in
pretty
some
crazy,
areas.
huh?
Yeah. That was some warm water. And prior to that, people were saying the last El Nino was like 94, 96 or something in there. So who's the, it's tough to say. I didn't get to see that last one in 94, 96.
Man, it was good, let me tell you. Pretty good.
I don't know. I don't have anything to reference it off of.
Right. Just walking on YFT, man. It was cool. But wahoo was really different. There was a wahoo that was taken at the Long Beach bait receiver in the wintertime. Do you ever hear this story?
No.
So this guy, Sean Morgan, he's running that yacht up now.
Okay.
Calls me up one morning. I was doing 976 tuna, and I think I was hungover because I remember distinctly having a headache. And hello, hey, what's up, Sean? And he goes, guess what? I just saw a guy catching the bait receiver. And I'm like, I don't know what. And he's like, no, what do you think I guess I got? And I'm a salmon. And he goes, a wahoo. And I go, yeah, F you. And he goes, I'm telling you, I just watched a guy. And I've met the guy who caught it. I got a video of it. He's got a freaking wahoo wiggling on a gaff at the Long Beach bait receiver in December when the water temp was 58 degrees.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, how in the hell that happened, I have no idea. But Sean was not BSing me, and somebody came on. Who was it? Bobby Lee now said he was BSing that thing, but he sent me the video. And the guys at I've talked to the guy, so there's some crazy stuff. That's one of the things about this business is it always keeps you guessing, doesn't it? It's amazing the stuff you see on the water.
Yeah. Once you think you've got something figured out, conditions change, and it's a totally different trend for that day or that week, and you see it all the time. People come out, oh, well, the last trip I came out on, everyone was catching them on this. Well, that's not what they're biting today.
Yeah, right. Things change.
You got to adapt to what the fish are doing. The fish aren't going to adapt to how you're, fishing.
Ruben Lopez is saying the bass gear is what I need. So you do need bass gear on a 3/4 day trip in most cases, right?
Yeah.
Definitely want to have
Daiwa
that.
makes the different size Lexas. That's the bait casters I use are the Daiwa Lexas. That's my favorite. Some people like the Tranks, but I think that Lexa in any size, especially that 400 size, is a good all-around reel. It might be a little big for your 10-pound bass outfit, but if you wanted to size down to some lighter fluorocarbon, just a short piece, if you have that Lexa full of Spectra, that could do just about anything from 10-pound up to 30-pound. And then you can get different sizes of the reel and match it up with different size rods and reels depending on if you're going to be fishing the dropper loop or a fly line. But bring out a handful of, if you're going to go on the 3/4 days like you're saying, bring out a handful of those different bass setups. And it doesn't have to be like a bait caster level wind either. The little Daiwa saltists.
Yeah.
The 15 or 20, the two smaller sizes. Those are great to fly line for bass. Or the spinners, if you want to, I can't think of the name of the particular Daiwa spinner, the Legalis, I think.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the Daiwa Legalis.
Greg's going to kill me. I don't know all these.
And I love that spinning reel. I fish the surf with it. I can fish freshwater bass on the worm, and then I take it out on the half days and 3/4 days
So
and
versatile.
use it for swim bait fishing,
Yeah. Are you having a good time tonight?
I am.
Because nobody is, the amount of people watching just continues to grow. We're going to have to end this at some point. You're not pooped out yet, are you?
No.
You can keep going, right?
I
Few
can,
more minutes?
I have tomorrow off. So
You do? You shouldn't have said that, should he, Alex? You know what that means?
Tomorrow's
Midnight.
my mom's birthday.
Oh, then we got it. Feliz cumpleaños a tu mamá, ¿verdad?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm excited. I'll go see her for a little bit.
That's
for
awesome.
Sure.
Tim P wants to know what the best way to hook an anchovy is.
Oh man, so if you have no weight at all, and once again, depending on conditions with the current and everything and what fish you're targeting, some fish will bite the baits a lot more aggressive or in a different manner, and they'll pull the bait off of the hook before they have the hook in their mouth. But I love collar hooking an anchovy. You lift up their gill plate and you can see all their gills in there. You don't want to touch the gills with your hook, but there's a little bone right where that gill plate separates from their body, that collar bone, and if you can just barely nick your hook on that with an anchovy, that's by far my favorite. But if you're going to have some weight on there, a half-ounce egg sinker or a dropper loop, then you got to go through the nose.
Up through the mouth,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Close the mouth. So when you're retrieving the bait, it looks natural also,
yeah, it
right?
doesn't open up like a
Yeah,
whale trying
right.
to,
Like, what the hell is that? I'm not eating that.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Ruben Lopez, for Wahoo north of San Martin Island. For Wahoo we're taking there? Maybe. Sergio Lopez, hello. Not sure if you're aware, but albacore were caught 60 miles outside the Golden Gate. Someone posted it on Facebook. Sergio, I am aware of that. Couple guys, but I thank you. This is part of the Friedman family. Sergio, thank you very, very much. Who did I talk to? I talked to Tommy Holland. I was talking to him about it. What's that bank off of San Francisco? I can't remember it right now. What the heck is the name of that? Anyway, there's some nice edges on that bank. We were looking at, Tommy was looking at it right before we went on air here tonight, because it's West Coast albacore and it's not here yet. I'll tell you, we got a chance at this still. It's late, but everything's late, so it's looking good. The Guide Seamount, maybe, I think is where that is outside of San Francisco, and it's looking very favorable. So thank you so very much, Sergio. That is deeply appreciated, keeping us in the loop. Hector Baca, do you think the bluefin will settle down in the islands and we'll see more cows being caught? You know, this year, that bluefin is just, last few years, it just would bite no matter what, and just every day, boom, boom, boom. This year, it's kind of thumbing its nose at us a lot more and being very finicky, acting more like the bluefin of old.
Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say bluefin typically wouldn't bite the troll, but it seems like this year that's been the best method, is trolling either those big spreader bar squid things or the Mad Max or some sort of a marauder style speed trolling jig, that you can troll at a high speed. That's definitely been what seems like not only for the private boats and pongas, but the sport boats too. Sounds like they're all trying to troll as much as they can for them. That's been kind of the hot ticket. But that or the sinker rig, that was kind of what I saw most of them coming on earlier in the season. Before it really got into the swing of things. Four Doors is saying albacore still sitting in the 60-degree break 80 miles off Morro Bay. Hey, Four Doors, can you clarify on that a little bit? Are there albae being taken up there? That would be some news if they're out of Morro Bay. Hector, thank you very much. Hector just threw us $1. Deeply appreciated. Too bad Morro Bay is a phone call, no picture type port, LOL. The weight loss guy. This show is amazing. This info given is phenomenal and feels the best. I say Mauricio is the best, and I thank you so very, very much. Tim P, are there bunks on the Clemente? No, we do not. We have our galley is sunken in, so some people oftentimes think that, kind of like with the Dana Pride. The Dana Pride's a little more, I guess, of a boat that you could mistake for having bunks just because it's so darn big.
But they don't have them.
But they don't have them.
Yeah.
It's just that the way you walk down into the galley kind of gives it that appearance that you're walking down into maybe a bunk room of some sort.
Yeah, right.
But no bunks. The Fury's the only one that does the overnight day and a half, multi-day stuff with the bunks. We'll try to do as much of that, offshore stuff on the 5-to-5s as we can, but we don't get a chance.
You got a place to sit down, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Especially on the Clemente, there's plenty of seating room down in the galley, and then our engine hatch is where we store a lot of our tackle boxes. And
but there's always
there's plenty of room. Yeah, there's someone taking a nap on the engine hatch, or So
that was me on the Malahini the other day. I was on the freaking deck sleeping.
Oh man,
and that was that 1 hour sleep in 48 hours.
Oh shoot!
And I looked at a buoy. It was upstairs, right outside the wheelhouse, and I looked at a buoy and it was deflated, kind of. I looked at the deckhand and I go,
"That's my pillow.
That's my bed right now. Is that okay?" And he goes, "Yeah, go for it." Like, bye. So I got some sleep that way. Well, shoot. I don't know. Should we wrap this up? I hate to do it. Talk to us about Dana Wharf Sportfishing in general before we say goodbye to everybody. What other opportunities? You have half day, 3/4 day, and overnight. You got phenomenal whale watching going on there, right?
The Curlew's a big schooner sailboat that does charters. If you want to see a really old, really beautiful wood sailboat, they keep that immaculate. They do charters on that too. You can do a little cruise out on the ocean. They'll pick all the sails and everything up. We have 2 catamarans that we use as strictly whale watching boats. The Dana Pride, when it's not fishing, will do some whale watching. They have a handful of the 6-pack charter boats. The Boardroom's the biggest one.
Right.
That's
a nice one, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a really, really nice boat.
Hey, Alex, some guy is saying if we turn the brightness down on the... Who is that, by the way? I want to give him credit for this. Where is he? Where does it say that? If you turn the brightness... Oh, it's Tim P. It'll look better. Go back. It's right here. See if you can find the brightness. Don't turn it off or anything, or I'll kill you. All right, Tim, we're working on that right now. We're not finished. There's more questions coming in. Sorry.
Okay, no, that's okay.
Yeah, thank you. Go ahead.
The
Continue.
Hansen family's got... we go down to the Dana Pride, the Clemente, the Some Fun, the Real Fun, the Lot of Fun, the Ocean Adventure, the San Mateo.
Okay, you got all kinds of boats there,
Yeah. All different sizes for different size groups if you wanted to do a charter, or we do some open parties on, the smaller boats as well every once in a while. Get on a smaller open party boat with like 10, 15 people,
Yeah.
Kind of seems like it's more of a...
Intimate kind of, yeah.
It's really neat, really neat. The Helena, if you've met Calvin.
Yeah.
He told me to say hi tonight.
Yeah.
But he's, I work with him quite a bit. We dock right next to each other, so we're always talking and working on the water. He's got a lot of other projects too. He's constantly working with other boats. So he's got Tanner, who's another good friend of mine that runs the boat, the Helena, for him.
We probably should mention, now that I'm thinking about it, that we lost a captain. How long ago was that? 6 months ago or so?
No, that was...
Was it that long ago?
No, it was
a few months ago.
Yeah, it was very recent.
Yeah.
4, I think.
Corey, right?
Corey Leeser, yeah.
Were you friends with him?
Yeah, we worked together every day. He was the captain. I was on the boat with him.
And, I don't know if you knew, did you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Notre Dame. He was a huge Notre Dame fan. So I didn't have a close friendship with him, but a few times we bumped in. When you're a domer, man, you seek out other domers. It's like you're an SC fan or whatever you are. And
exactly.
I would look, and we would go like, hey, go Irish, all the time. And what a very sad situation.
It's tough, especially, after that happened. It took a little bit for me to start running the boat. They were using some of the other captains to fill in, the trips that he obviously wasn't there to work anymore. So I wasn't in the wheelhouse right away, but eventually, now I'm up there more often than not. If I'm not in the wheelhouse driving the boat, I'm cooking a couple days out of the week, and
Oh, you do cooking too?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, great.
So,
versatile guy.
Yeah.
A Renaissance man.
It's definitely, they do a really good job at Dana Wharf at keeping everyone busy and working. We're switching shifts up so that we're all not only getting our days off, but we're not having to, do the same thing every day with, another thing when you look, a lot of different landings will have their boat that does the one thing and that's all they do, which has a lot of pros to it. But Dana Wharf, I think especially for the crew members, they switch up what the boat does. So it's not like we do every half-day trip, and the Some Fun does every 3/4 day trip. We'll do 2 or 3 half days and then 2 or 3 3/4 days.
Oh, that's great.
And when we're not doing a half day, the Some Fun's doing the half day while we're doing 3/4 day, or vice versa.
Perfect.
And it works out really good, not only for the passengers but also for the crew.
Yeah, it gives you the versatility of changing it up a little bit.
Yeah, a little different pace, trying some different spots, not having to fish that same half day zone every day. You get to try some other areas and see what the conditions are like. Maybe,
really cool.
Yeah, maybe it helps, gives you some clues for where you want to try on the next half day.
Exactly. Tim P, do you have a remote? Tim, we'll work on this later because we don't have a remote or anything, do we? We don't know. Let's see. Have I been to a grunion run? Hey, do you ever go grunion hunting? You probably don't have time.
I've tried 3 times.
And you struck out?
I've yet to see it.
Oh man, you have to come over to where I'm at, over in Surfside. It's like you freaking thousands of them on the beach. Although I haven't seen them this year because I haven't been out there. I went out one night because I wanted to film it, and so I got up. I think to go to the restroom at midnight, and I go, oh. Hey, it's
good
grunion.
timing. Yeah.
Walked out there, but I walked out and looked down to the beach from far away, and I go, I don't see any. Anyway, I probably could have gone down there and found some, but that is really a cool thing to do. Derek Van said, I remember earlier you hinted at a 3-hour episode, and it sounds like it's coming true tonight. Poor Mauricio.
No, are you kidding me? I came up here because I was excited to do this.
I'm excited to do it. 54 likes. If you could give us a few more likes, we promise to let Mauricio go home to his wife if we hit 275 likes.
There we go.
Before that, he's locked up in here with Alex. So you don't want that to happen to anybody. Let me tell you that right now. Mauricio, it's been a pleasure, man. Anything else you can... I do have one more question. What's the worst part about being a captain? I can tell, I can see your enthusiasm. Is it paperwork? Is there anything? Or you can answer and say, I like it all.
I haven't found anything,
Wow.
I haven't found anything yet that I don't like.
You can see this as another 40 years doing this?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you really love this.
I do.
Yeah.
Even if I wasn't fishing, even if I was on the whale watching boat, just being on the water
Really
makes me happy. Fishing's definitely where the love and passion is strongest. But even when I'm working on the whale watches, I'm so happy to be on the water and help people. Once again, helping the people have a good time, trying to teach them a couple things about the mammals or whatever it might be, showing them a good day on the water.
Yeah, exactly.
Sharing that love for the water.
You are awesome. What a great young man. Rick Slater says, Fishers of Men, both of you. Great show. Thank you. Rick.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you. Yeah, right? I mean, I have to say that the people that I get to meet in this business, people that introduce themselves to me, when I did 976 Tuna, I was pretty popular, but people knew me by my voice. So I could run around. But I'm telling you, I can't go anywhere anymore with this YouTube thing. I'm like going, wait a second, how can it be that I'm way more recognized after a year of doing this, after 20-something years, and it's, you're on camera.
Right.
And so I'm so grateful when I run into people. Alex, he's a different situation. The intern, I try to run from him. But everybody else, I embrace with much love and gratitude. And I'm sure you feel the same way, right?
I do, yeah. I mean, I don't see why not. We're all, especially when you're on a boat together, you're going to be stuck on a boat with someone for 9, 12 hours.
You might as well get along and have fun.
Yeah. It goes back to, there's some things that you can't change. And
your wife's serenity part.
Exactly.
Yep.
There's things that you can't change, and go out there and have a good time even if the fish don't bite. And if you're not on a boat, treat others the way you want to be treated. No reason to be sour towards someone for something that wouldn't make a difference at the end of the night anyways.
Take my word for it. Alex, if you want to be sour toward Alex tonight, you got my permission. Okay? No problem. Tim P, any helpful tips on seasickness prevention? Yeah, don't go on a boat.
Right? That's the only way to guarantee it. But if you don't do the patch, and if you don't like the patch, because that's the one that seems to be the most effective, the Dramamine, I think, isn't effective just because it's not administered properly. They're taking it when they show up to the landing 20 minutes before they get on the boat.
And you got to take it, what, several hours before?
The package says 2 hours, before, if not 4 hours before you get on the boat.
And does it work if you do that?
It will for some people, but depending how susceptible you are to seasickness, how badly it affects you. I've talked to plenty of passengers that are they get horrible seasickness, but they've learned how to deal with it, and they'll say the night before their trip, after dinner, they take their first dose.
Oh, okay.
So when they fall asleep with it in their system, they wake up, they take their second dose.
Oh, okay.
Then they get back, because depending on the brand, some of them say you could take it every 4 to 6 hours.
Yeah.
Or some of them are just 2 doses a day, whatever it might be. Read the package, obviously, and the label on it. But, take that first dose at night before, you go to bed. That way when you wake up to throw all your gear in the car, or maybe it's already all in the car or the truck, you take your second dose before you leave the house. You're driving down to the wharf. You looked at what time you took that second dose in the morning. So when you're on the boat, whatever time it gets to be, 4 to 6 hours later, now you're on the boat, take that other dose. Some of them will make you real drowsy, so look at, the package on whether it's a non-drowsy or not.
Javier Lopez is Bonnie. He recommends
Bonine,
that.
yeah.
Or Bonine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really good one.
I found the patch. I don't get seasick, but friends of mine, I've seen guys that are chronic throwing up over, the second I've seen them put that patch on. It really, really
I know
works.
for a long time it was prescription only, and that's
I think
why,
it still is.
Is it?
Yeah, because this guy Bob Gifford, he goes, I got to call my doctor again because I'm out. So
Okay.
yeah, I guess it still is.
Maybe
Probably get
depending
'em in
on the
Mexico.
formula too, though, because I've seen some at West Marine. It's probably more of like a holistic natural patch. Whatever they're soaking on the patch isn't pharmaceutical, maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
But I've seen,
maybe, yeah.
I've seen seasick patches for sale at West Marine in different places where you wouldn't need a prescription, but it's probably different than the one that you
the
get
real
a
deal.
prescription for.
Yeah.
Because we actually did some sort of a study with the pharmacies for seasickness medication on the Dana Pride.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, they had a
Did you
bunch
take
of,
seasick people that?
I was working on the Clemente that day, but
Were
we were
people
all
out there
on-
vomiting all day?
Yeah. So the pharmacies had, what I don't know
Those
how
poor
they,
people.
I don't know how they had advertised it, but they, tried to gather as many people that knew they were prone to seasickness as possible, and they put them
Here,
all on the Dana
take
Pride.
this and good luck.
Yeah.
Oh my
let's
God,
see
what
if
a
it
puke
helps
fest
you
that
out.
must have been,
And it
huh?
was actually such calm weather, the pharmacy was worried, we're not going to get a good study.
Yeah, no
So they
kidding.
called one of the other Dana Wharf boats out to just drive circles around.
Oh my God,
to
no
wake
way.
them out for the days.
Freaking awesome. I love it. Were they puking? I'm sure some guys were.
I'm sure some of them were. Yeah.
That's funny, man. That's a hilarious story. Manuel C., The Promise. Phil, thank you for your morning reports. Your podcast is always great content along with your guest speakers. Yeah, you're right. Mauricio's awesome. And especially the great captains. Thank you, gentlemen. Manuel, thank you so much, right?
Yeah.
Gotta love that. Live Bubble Hash can't get it anymore. Ginger is natural. I do hear a lot of people talking about ginger.
Yeah.
Does that work?
When I was the full-time galley guy on the boat, I'd try to come up with all sorts of different things I could cook for the crew so we weren't eating burgers. Like I said, I never got tired of them.
Yeah.
But if they'd get tired of them, I'd try to bring some other stuff. And I incorporate ginger in a lot of my recipes.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I would keep ginger root on the boat, and I'd see someone start getting seasick, and I'd cut up some of the raw ginger root. And you don't have to eat it, but you sit there and chew on it for a little bit and get the juices from the ginger root.
Did it work?
Yeah, it would.
Really?
help. Maybe it's a placebo effect, but I've heard, for a long time, ginger is supposed to be
I have too.
really good. And they sell ginger chews for motion sickness.
Right.
It's like a little hard candy that starts getting chewy after you.
How about those bracelet things? Do those actually?
I
hear people say they work, but it seems like a phony thing to me.
Once
but-
again, it's so hard to say whether it's placebo,
Placebo
or
or-
not. I think a lot of it could be when you're in your own head about it too.
Yeah.
So, I used to get seasick really bad when I was young, and then by the time I was in high school,
Oh, you grew out of it?
I don't know how or why, but yeah, I grew out of it. And I
Yes.
remember being so stubborn because all I wanted to do was work on boats as a kid.
Oh, God.
So I told my dad, no, I don't want to take it. Just take it so you don't get sick today. No,
Yeah.
I don't want to take it. I'll learn how eventually. But it took me till almost I was out of high school, and I remember going out on the boat, and I didn't get seasick, and I was like, no way.
That's awesome, man.
And ever since then, knock on wood, I've been
Thank
fine.
God.
Yeah.
Albert Ponce is the Pilla or Pila from Walmart. Maybe that's in Javier Lopez. I don't get seasick, but I've seen people who were sick and take a bonine, or what do you call them?
Bonine or bonine,
Yeah,
something
bonine.
like that.
And an hour later, they were good to go. Rick Slater says beer and soda crackers. Yeah, Rick, but with a 9-year-old kid, that doesn't work. Root beer, maybe, right?
Hey, there we go.
Yeah.
A little Sprite or ginger ale to settle the little gas, the bubbles in the soda might help settle the stomach.
Kai Fish Killer ginger capsules, 250 milligrams. Took 3, was seasick. Better in 15 to 20 minutes. There you go, man. I mean, that worked for these guys. Take some per meal. And Kai Fish Killer proven on Mythbusters.
Well, there you
I
have it.
assume he's talking about, it's got to be. You know?
Right?
If a TV show says that it's, TV, everybody knows everything on TV is absolutely 100%. Just kidding, Kai.
That was a good show, though.
Yeah, it was, right? I think we got a little break here. I hate to end this because you have been such a remarkable guest. You're well-spoken. You're a nice, polite kid.
Thank you.
And I look forward to actually going on a trip with you. I just got to meet you at the dock and watch how you handled that thing we had going on with the extra group. And I was so impressed. And then when I talked to Sam and everybody else, I was even more impressed about the great job. And I got to tell you, what do you think, Alex? Did he do a good job tonight?
Yeah.
How was my performance?
Really bad.
Yeah, not so good. That's why I don't like
Is this how he talks to you all the time?
all the time, and just a lack of respect.
Tell him to go scrub rods or something.
Yeah. I'm giving you. Hector Baca, before I say goodbye, ginger doesn't work too well. There's a guy that says no. And Kai Fish Killer, ginger pills are awesome. No way can you eat 250 milligrams. Four Doors says, thanks, guys. Hey, I know you want to get home to your wife. You've been a remarkable guest. Yeah. I enjoyed interacting with your wife, with your father. Happy birthday to your mother. I want to say that. And I want to thank you very much for being here, Mauricio. You're an outstanding guest. Can't wait to see you again.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do it anytime. That was awesome.
Mauricio Lopez, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.
And Alex you're going to walk in front and do it? All right, do it.